All right, we're going to start. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of departed. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Dave, shut that door in the back, please. Meeting started. Shut the doors. All right. Okay, I'm just going to introduce who's up at the panel. You have Thomas Taco. He's our recording secretary. John DeLiso is executive vice president. Willie Torres, he's our financial treasurer. And Howard Ween, he's the chief counsel of the SSSA. We have our vice presidents in the audience from the various sections and departments, and we have a lot of our executive board here today also. All right, let me just start off. Before we start with this, with the highlights, which we mailed them out to everybody at their homes. So I'm hoping that most of you all read through them, but I'm going to start out with something before that. I'm going to touch on a little bit about contract negotiations. The conception or misconception out there is that a union goes in with the company and throws our demands on the table, and the company looks through it and says, okay, we're going to give you that. That is so far from the truth. Okay, that's a misconception. Then there's another misconception, that the union goes in and they're told to go to hell by management, and then the union starts screaming and fighting and all this other stuff, and we get everything we ask for. Another total misconception. Listen to me very carefully. Most of you know me. I got elected here in 2014, became president in 2015 when I took over. I've always prided myself on being honest and truthworthy, and I've done that. Good, bad, and indifferent. Sometimes I've said things the truth, and I've got hammered. But one thing you can never say about me when you walk away is that I lied to you, okay? Another thing is, I promised a lot of sections when I took over this union that I would do everything in my power to get you things that you should have gotten 30 years ago, okay? And this is not a bash on former presidents. All right, this is not, okay? Every president that sits in a seat at a union, the top of a union, when they're at that table, the membership doesn't really know what's going on, and they will never know what's going on. It's impossible to explain what goes on at the table. So the unions prior to me did what they had to do for the time that they sat in this seat, okay? I may disagree with some of those things, but I understand what they were up against, okay? So when I go to the table, I give my proposals. Of course, the authority looks through them, and they say, we'll get back to you. And then we set up meetings after that. Now, this negotiations was a little out of the box because no one expected Mother Nature to hit us with a pandemic, right? We started negotiations when our contract expired. We had a couple of sessions, and then COVID happened, and everything was put on the back burner. And we began negotiations last February, was when we were notified that negotiations would reopen up. So we have been negotiating all along. Getting back to what I was saying, you know, when we're at the table and we're negotiating local-wide issues, when I say local-wide issues, I mean sick leave, medical benefits, things like that, that pertain to everybody across the union. It's not as easy as people believe it is. The fight is there. The company keeps pounding us. No, we're not going to give you that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. And then when we get them to somewhat agree to something, Then it goes back to costing out. And I'm not going to get into that because that's a mess. They come back weeks later and say, oh, you're asking us for a sick leave cash out increase. That's going to cost point so-and-so. How are you going to pay for that? I'm not looking to pay for anything. I want you to give it to me. And then they say, no, if you want that, you got to give us this. And that's how it's done. And I, as your president, and my team have to go back and try to figure out how could we get these things without giving anything back. That is not easy. Believe me, it is not easy. And I'm not standing up here to say that I'm killing myself, and it is not easy to do, okay? At the end of the day, my job is to bring back a contract that my executive board and my top executives are satisfied with, that I could bring to you, the membership. And I've said this from day one I took over as president of this union. We have 5 departments, 17 sections. 17 sections. I've always said it is impossible to get every single section something. It's impossible. Okay, and any president that stands up here and says to you that he or she can, that's not a president for you, because they're bullshitting you. Or they're giving something back. Okay, so I stand by that in 2015, I stand by that in 2023, I'll stand by that in 2024, and so on. Okay, unfortunately, some of those sections that don't get anything extra in that specific area, they get angry, you left me out, and the ball starts to roll. We all know what that's about. And believe me, nobody hurts worse than I do that I couldn't get a section something. Because you can bet your bottom dollar that I went in and fought for it. We just couldn't get them to move, and there's a lot of moving parts with that. You have a chief, you have deputy chiefs, depending on which section you're from, ACTOs, AGMs, GSs, and we have to negotiate with these smaller level people. And even if we're able to get in these little sections, these mid-level or higher level managers to say, you know what, Mike, I think we could do that, but I can't tell you yes yet because I got to speak now to my vice president. Now you take that and you're kind of happy and you say, well, I got this for the people, for my members. And then the vice president turns around and says, no, we're not doing that. And if you're able to get him or her to say, okay, I think we can, you now have to get the senior vice president to say yes. And if you're able to get him to say yes, you still have to get the head of labor relations to say yes. So you see the moving parts, and you see the fight up the chain. It's crazy. And there's some cases where you get a vice president of a department. I think we could do that. And then his or her underlings who work for her meet and discuss it, and a week or two later she calls you up, or you're on a Teams meeting, or you're at a face-to-face meeting, and they say, listen, we looked at that, the cost is too high, we're not going to do that. You're like, whoa, it took me months to get you to say yes, and now your underlings told you that it's not good. And this is the ball of negotiations. And then we have that little part, pattern bargaining, okay? And there's numerous conversations on Facebook about pattern bargaining. Well, listen to me. Pattern bargaining was designed as a template for unions to bargain in the same industry. We are not a trades union. We are not a trades union. We have tradespeople that work for here, but we are not a trades union. We are an industrial union, okay? Transportation, that's what we are. We have pattern bargaining here. We pattern our contracts from the big mothership, TWU, okay, which I say timid, weak, and useless, right? And you know, and I came out of that union. We all did, and I was an executive officer for them. But we pattern our contracts from them, all right? And we've been patterning them for over 70 years, okay? And that's how it is here. No different than the city unions, the uniform coalitions, the police, the corrections, the fire department. They pattern their contracts from the big ship. You know who the big ship is in the city? Under the uniform is the PBA, the Police Benevolent Association. They're the big ship. What they get, the smaller unions get. That's how this works. Do I agree fully with pattern bargaining? It works and it doesn't work. So as your president, who has to conform to pattern bargaining, I have to figure out other ways. How do I break that pattern bargaining? So I try to get different things in the contract to offset things that TWU didn't get. That's how we do it. So I'm going to stop there because I can go on, and a lot of people know me. I do like to talk, especially I love to talk to my membership, and I can go on for days, right? But so I'm going to go through, and you can ask me questions about that later. I'm going to go through the whole MOU, and I would ask, please, this is a contract ratification meeting. That's it. We're not here to discuss, you didn't get an AVA 2 weeks ago. We're not here to discuss that you filed a grievance and you got problems and there's discipline. Please, as much as I would love to address your concerns, this is not the meeting for it. Also, if you are here and you're dissatisfied with the MOU, of course, as a member, you're welcome to come to the mic. You can explain what your concerns are. I will give you the answers to that. And if you're happy with it, you're happy with it. If not, that's it. But please be mindful that we are here to ask questions so that we can make a proper vote on a contract. The other thing and final thing, and then I'll move on, is if this contract gets voted down by tomorrow, because voting is open all day today till tomorrow at 5 p.m. If the contract is voted down, there is no more going back to the table. We will go right to arbitration. And let me tell you something. I've been in this company for 35 years. I've worked in both unions. Arbitration is not where we want to be. First and foremost, the arbitrator doesn't work for us, never did, never will. Didn't come up the ranks, doesn't understand what we do, doesn't understand our jobs. We go to an arbitrator, we put it in a person's hands that could give a flying whatever, okay? And everything we negotiated here, good, bad, or indifferent, is on the table, open for discussion by the arbitrator, by the transit authority, and by this union. So we would have to go back in and refight everything we've been fighting for. And the transit's going to come back in, and they've been known to change. Well, we did agree to give them sick leave cash out, but you know what? Now that it's all open again, we decided we don't want to do that now. And you got to hope that we can convince that arbitrator that it's wrong what they're saying. I don't want to take that chance. And it's going to take at least about a year, year and a half before we get a chance to have our case heard in arbitration. If that's where this membership wants me to go, then you cast your vote the way you think you need to cast your vote. But I would say where we would be heading in a dangerous, dangerous avenue. Seriously. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody, okay? Okay, I'm done with that. Let's move on. I'm going to go down the list, one at a time. And after I'm finished, we'll open the floor for questions, and we'll move forward from there, okay? All right, the term of the contract is 48 months, okay? August 1st, 2020 to July 31st of 2024. So the contract will expire next year. Your final raise would be August of this year. So by the time all the particulars are done here, if the contract does get voted in, you'll probably get all the raises at one shot in retro, and your salary is going to go up by 9.5%. If it's $100,000, you're going to go up by almost $10,000 immediately, right? That's how it's going to work. Because by the time all this gets done, because we go to the board next week, if this contract gets ratified today, we go to the board next week on the 24th, and then they got to ratify it as well. And then all of a sudden, the BSC gets involved and everybody gets involved, and the ball starts to roll about setting up all the new things in the contract. And there's a lot of moving parts after that. So my work isn't done. It gets done after the 24th. Another phase of contract negotiations happens. Retroactive, how they're going to pay us, when's this going to happen, when's that going to happen. It's a whole process. And then if you read the MOU, you'll see we have new medical system in here. That's another big thing. We're trying to get teams of Aetna and the BSC out to the membership in the field so you can go and see which medical you want to choose from. So that's another whole process we're trying to get done. That will be getting done if the contract gets ratified. So you see the raises, pattern bargaining, 2%, 2.25, 2.50, and 2.75. Those are the raises, okay? We did longevity. Longevity is going to go up by $100 per step, $550, $650, $750, and $850. The maintenance bonus in car equipment and maintenance away and bus maintenance is going to go up by $150 a year. So it was $650. It's going to go up to $800. Then we put into place, I did, a transportation bonus. Now, we've seen on Facebook, people said, the transportation bonus is an easy pass. No, I wish it was. We did ask for that last go around the contract, this go around. Matter of fact, management that I was negotiating was like, we'd love to give that to you because if you get it, we get it. But no, that's not an easy pass. The transportation bonus is for the transportation divisions, RTO and buses, okay? It's similar to the maintenance bonus, right? That's exactly what it is. In short, cut and dry, you come to work, you get a bonus every year. That's it. And that bonus goes up every contract, just like the maintenance bonus goes up every contract. So $400 bonus this round of bargaining. Next year, we're going back in for the contract again. I may put on the table, I want 200 more. So the bus and RTO transportation bonus will go up by another $200. So it's 600. Look down the road. I look down the road. 3, 4 contracts down the road, that transportation bonus that we started at 400 is now 1,200. Not bad just to come to work. You're getting nothing now anyway for those in transportation, right? So that's what we do. That's what I did. I put that in there. It was an extra bonus for our people in transportation, right? The line of duty active service death benefit, the active service death benefit shall be increased to $50,000. The line of duty death benefit shall be increased to $500,000. Now, during COVID, the line of duty death benefit was $250,000. And when our members started dying from COVID, not just our members, other unions members also, the union labor leaders, we were all on the phone, matter of fact, every single day for almost 2 years straight. Meetings, this, that, with headquarters, trying to get through this pandemic as much as we possibly can. And we said $250,000, our members are dying. So we got them to increase it to $500,000. And we signed stipulations at the time that the $500,000 would be sufficient at that point. And then, of course, we went and got it in our contract because that's staying. So now it's in our contract. So hope to God you never have to use that, right? I'm speaking, but that's there for your family. If, God forbid, something should happen to you on a line of duty like that, your family would get $500,000, all right? The OTO caps will be increased by 150% of wage increases, okay? Now we'll go into the health and welfare benefits. I just want to point out about this. I'm not going to answer questions about the differences in the plans between Aetna and NYSHIP, because if we did that, we'd be here for days, okay? Like I said, we're trying to set up workshops for the membership in the field to go and speak with professionals, the Aetna people, the BSC with NISHIP, and they would be able to best explain to you what it is. Let me tell you why I did this. One, everybody that gets promoted into this union goes into Aetna medical coverage. And the SSSA has no control, or had no control, over those members. So, yeah, I know, I've seen him, people don't understand this, okay? The union's administration prior to me, and again, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. Matter of fact, I have a very good relationship with the former president of this union. The former presidents, they negotiated this. This was at the table, I guess, when they were there, and they got some kind of credit for it, which they were able to use monies in the contract for other things, okay? So when a member gets promoted and they come here, they go into Aetna. Well, they're in Aetna now as a TW member, and then they get promoted, they stay in Aetna medical coverage, right? They stay in that coverage for 10 years. 10 years, until the 10th year, and then they go into NISHIP, which is the state medical coverage, right? The Empire plan or whatever else plan is involved in it. But for those 10 years, we, as a union, cannot negotiate medical coverage for those members. TW negotiates the coverage for those members. And when I took over, I said, how is this possible? Why is this possible? And I understood why then, because I spoke to the former president. There was monies that were allotted for that, and credits given. And I said, okay. And now mind you, I won the election in 14. And I took over in 15. And he had signed a new contract in 14, giving another 10 years to the Aetna benefit. So there was nothing much I could do until this round of bargaining. Not only do they stay in that coverage for 10 years, anybody that has Aetna in this room today, as of right now, before the vote of the contract, do you know what your medical coverage entails if you were to pass away today? All right? I'm not asking the question, I'm just saying. Do you know if you passed away today and you have Aetna medical, your spouse or significant other remains with the medical for only 1 year, and after that 1 year, the BSC offers them COBRA for about $1,800 a month. And after 18 months, the COBRA goes away and you get nothing. Your spouse or significant other gets nothing. Zilch. No medical coverage. Nothing like NISHIP. NISHIP, we get it for life. I couldn't understand that. I couldn't understand it in two facets. How we could agree to that many years ago, and how TW never could get this. So I put it to a test, and I did it in Staten Island about a year ago. Staten Island, we have organized supervisors out there. We organized them. We were doing their contract. They have Aetna, same medical coverage as TW. And I went to bat with labor relations, and my VP from Staten Island is right here. He's sitting right there. I don't mean to point at you, Joe, but, and I said, you can't tell me that I can't negotiate my medical benefits for my members out there. He said, well, you can't. I said, well, you better check with legal because I'm about to file a lawsuit. Well, make a long story short, I was able to make some changes. And we added active lifetime death benefit to Staten Island medical coverage under Aetna. So if a Staten Island member passed away today, his spouse or significant other would have lifetime medical till the day she died. Not only that, when an Aetna person retires, as of today, before the ratification of his contract, if you retire with Aetna and you're enjoying your life, you and your spouse or significant other, and you pass away, the primary member, your spouse will keep that medical coverage until she or he reaches Medicare age. And then it's done. They go straight up Medicare. That's the current TW plans and the current SSSA plan. But under this new contract that will no longer exist, we are the first union to get this. We are the first, okay? And as a matter of fact, if anybody's watching what's going on with TW, they just started negotiations. And one of their proposals are, to the MTA, is that they want the MTA to pay, now think about what I'm going to say to you. They want the MTA to pay for all the members, the 110 members that died during COVID, to give them lifetime medical, just those members, because they don't have it. Their spouses died, and they have no lifetime medical for the wife and the children, okay? This right here in this contract stops all that. We are the first, okay? The other thing is, I says, okay, we are not touching the retiree benefit, by the way. Anybody that already retired, retired. We didn't touch none of that. We didn't do what the city did. The city did what they did. What we did here was, we also, if you got 5 years and 6 years and you're still in Aetna, which you should be, and you're on the approach to getting into NISHIP, we want to give everybody an option. So anybody that is currently from 5 years up to the 9, almost 10th year, will have an option to now choose a one-time option. And I'm going to say it again, one-time option, to either stay with Aetna or switch to NISHIP. And then, if you're in NISHIP and you want to switch to Aetna, you can do so as well. One-time option, okay? And after that, it's done. That will be your medical for the rest of your life, okay? All new hirees coming on will just go right into Aetna. That's it, done. As far as high option riders, for any members here that came on from TW with a high option rider, high option riders were put together by TW when they did these plans back in the day. It was supposed to give the member a better option, right? Like a better out-of-network option. But it also gave them new dental under emblem, which kind of, excuse my French, sucks. It's a disaster. And you got to pay for that. The member has to pay for that. So in this union, when people were getting promoted, we would tell them, listen, if you're staying with this high option rider, you're not getting our dental. You don't get it. We have Cigna Dental. TW doesn't retire with dental for life. They lose their dental when they retire. We don't. We keep our dental and optical like as if we were active. So what we did in this contract, when a member gets promoted with Aetna, there's no more work for them to do. Their high option rider is gone. No need for a high option rider, okay? And once we get these teams out there to explain to you what the differences are, you'll understand what I'm saying. You're gonna see the high option rider was just a money grab. It's not really worth it. It may work for 1 or 2 people, but it really was a money grab. And TW got some cash for that, TA got something out of it, whatever it was. So that's gone. So that's the crust of the health benefit piece, all right? And getting down to the final piece of the health benefit, letter H, the union, this union, the president, which would be me or whoever's going to come behind me, will now have a voting seat on the medical panel. So say in 4, 5, 10, 20 years, they decide Aetna's going out, we're going to bring in United Healthcare. Well, before, TW would make that decision. Okay, let's bring in United Healthcare. SSSA would be like, what are you talking about? We don't have no say in it? No, you don't. Not no more. Now, the union president here and the union president with the TSO, we have voting seats at the panel and an advisory seat. So this is not all about TW anymore, all right? So that was another thing we needed to be put in there, all right? And that finishes my health benefit piece of that. I'll move on to the meal allowance. The current meal allowance is at $3.50, hasn't been touched in probably 25 years, all right? It's a small little item. It was something that I threw on in the end because we had a couple of pennies left. It was really minor, and we increased it by $1.50. It's $5. It's probably not even enough for a cup of coffee. But you know what? It's there, right? You get it. You work overtime, you get $5. All right. Death in the family, another one. First union to get it, us and the TSO, because we did bargain together. Hopefully you'll never have to use this, but some of our members unfortunately had to, is the death in the family now will include grandchildren, okay? And we put it in there because, like I said, there's been members of ours that have lost their grandchildren, and they, they weren't entitled to the DIF. Okay, we'll go into there's a part here on 12, additional funding. If you see it, it says $982,000. That number we owe to the authority, okay? And why we owe it was during COVID, TW gave something back to the authority. It pertains to the Americans with Disabilities Act for elevators and escalators. They allowed them to outsource jobs. They did this during COVID. It was a clause in their contract in 2019, but they didn't address it. And then COVID happened, and then they started talking about things. And then the president at the time, which is not the president now, president at the time, which was Tony Utano, signed an agreement, finalizing an agreement in 2022, November of 2022, right in the heart of us negotiating, us, the union, our union. That gave the transit authority millions upon millions of dollars of savings. So the transit came after us and said, well, that's pattern bargaining. See, like I said before, sometimes it works for us, sometimes it works against us. You owe us. How do we owe you? What we're willing to do is, we're willing to add 2 months to your contract, and we'll call it the debt is owed. No. So you're going to make my 48-month contract, which is under pattern bargaining in 2019, you're going to make it 50 months. That's not pattern bargaining. Yeah, but you owe us. So we went back and forth, and I'll spend days here talking about this because you have no clue. We fought and fought and fought to the highest levels, and which prompted, most of you saw probably the TV show, I backed Lee Zeldin for governor. The reason for that was I kept going to the governor's office, Governor Kathy Hochul, and she did not take my calls. She did not return my calls, but she was having her campaign manager constantly call me and ask us for $20,000, $10,000. And I said, so I got to pay to talk to her. I am not going to do that. That's not what I do. I will never pay anybody to talk for my membership. It's not going to happen. You want our support, you come here. So she didn't do that. And I said, okay, how do I spite her? I backed Lee Zeldin. Well, he lost, but, that was my way of sending a message. Well, it pretty much worked, because then loosened her up, like to say, hey, well, this guy really did this, right? And we got a little things done. But they wouldn't take off the 2 months. So what I did was, being I made the changes with the medical, I said, well, I'll tell you what. My elevator and escalator members are part of that. So TW negotiated away some of my members' work. I want a month's value for that. So they gave me a month's value for that, right? So it dropped it down to a month, right? And then I said, okay, well, we're doing this Aetna NISHIP. If my members switch plans from NISHIP to Aetna, I think I get a credit for that, because NISHIP is a little bit more expensive than Aetna. I want that credit. So that's what this clause means. We owe them $982,000, which is really not a whole bunch of money. Believe me, it's really not. It's actually a 0.19 when we do in contract negotiations, okay? That's really what it is, a 0.19. So I'm saying, whatever credit I get for this, it's gonna come off that number. That's how we're doing. That's what that clause is for anybody that wants to know. That's straight up, that's what it means. So don't let anybody tell you it means something different. I told you what it is. It is what it is, all right? Of course, Article 14, continuation of all prior terms, which that means is all prior contracts and MOUs and side letters will remain in existence to this day, right? All right, we'll go into Appendix A, miscellaneous provisions, OTO, AVA, annual cash out with deferral option. That was another one of things that I needed to do. It was not a proposal, it was something, we got numerous proposals, not numerous, but we had a few, asking to increase our AVA and OTO banks. Our AVA quota is 90, our OTO bank is 108 or 106, right? What's the purpose? There's no purpose for it. So I came up with a plan. How do I skin cats? Numerous ways. And the plan was, if I can get a rollover into a 401k or 457, you could roll over, of course, with the quotas under the 401k and 457, you could roll over your AVAs and OTO time as tax deferred into your 401k, right? And you free up space in your bank to reaccumulate them, right? Plus, a lot of our members are younger members, right? We're more of a younger base union now, which is a good thing. There's small families, brand new families, maybe 1 or 2 new children, whatever, and they're struggling like anybody else is, and they're taking maybe $200 out of their paycheck every 2 weeks and putting it into the 401k or 457. Well, with this, they can now decrease that back down, put that money back in their check, and at the end of every year, take whatever AVAs and OTO and roll it over as tax deferred as their savings. And it frees up space in their bank. So it was a big thing. We were the first union to get it, us and TSO. So that's what that means, all right? The next one is the release time portion. Again, keeping consistent of what I said back in 2014, that I feel that this union should have as much union representation as possible, because the more reps we have, the more representation you have in the field, right? We are a smaller union. We can't afford to keep paying staff, so I try to get the TA to pay our reps. That's what we try to do. So this clause here is going to give us another rep, another union rep, which I might be putting on the midnight shift for call duty at night. And it says 45 hours. What that means is all our TA reps that are TA paid but are released to the union get 40 hours a week. Just, that's it. There's no overtime built in it. There's nothing. So it's a service they're doing for our membership. They're coming here to work for 40 hours a week, right? So what we did was we said, listen, you got to do something here. So we got 45 hours. So they'll get 45 hours, which is 10 hours every paycheck, additional to their 40-hour checks. So it's like a little little bonus for them for being a union rep. So that's what that clause means. And that rep, when we get it, if this contract is ratified, will most likely be a midnight guy. That's what I'm looking at right now. Don't hold me to it, but we're looking at possibly putting that person on the midnight shift to cover the late night call duty, okay? Grievance procedure. When I took over, we had 5 days to file a grievance. 5 days. 5 days is nothing, because by the time you realize it, you're already into 10 days, you know? So 5 days was nothing for a grievance. Last contract, we got it up to 15 days, okay? I was asking for 30 days last round of bargaining. They wouldn't give it to me. I don't know why. It really doesn't cost anything. And they agreed to 15 days. Well, this round, we got it to 30 days. So now you have 30 days to file a grievance. So if you get a paycheck, at least you have 2 weeks after the paycheck to file the grievance, or 30 days after the contract, after your paycheck to file the grievance. if you see something wrong, a money item, or maybe something else in the field that happened, and you want to file the grievance that you feel is violation of the contract, you can do so. You have 30 days to do that. You know what I mean? Seniority, discipline. Discipline Management Committee, we've been asking for like a stepping process, progressive discipline, if you call it that. They wouldn't give it to us. They said, oh, supervisors really don't get disciplined. Yeah, they do. We get hammered, okay? But that's typical labor relations, right? So what I forced them to do was to give me a committee. So what's going to happen is our our Director of Grievances and Discipline will work with labor relations on this committee to address case-by-case issues, committees, and how we can make changes to the discipline process, okay? Because we do get a lot of members that never been disciplined down here, and then they get into trouble one time, and they're faced with 30 days. Like, how's that possible? Person has nothing on their record. So situations like that, we now will have a committee to address that, case-by-case basis. It's a step in the right direction. It's not really where I wanted to be, but I took it and I ran. It's opening the door for us. Seniority, big hot item. Since I took over, we've been sued probably 4 times or something like that. Howard, I don't remember. That's the attorney. We've been in court, in PERB, everywhere. Because the problem, again, was every department in this union does seniority differently. And when I say seniority, I'm talking about provisional time. Every department does it differently. That it confused the hell out of me. And most people know me. I've spoken induction classes. I spoke in meetings. I'm a person that believes that your list number should be what's used, right? But that's just me personally. That's Mike Karubi personally. But as president, I have to look at what's really the right thing to do. Now, how do you tell a member that's been provisional for 6, 8, 9 months, paying your union dues, that he lost his seniority because we had other people that went in front of him that weren't provisional? There's problems with that, right? There's never a right answer to this question. It's not a right answer. You couldn't, no matter which way you went with it, you were wrong. And as the president, I have to make decisions. So what happened was, in these lawsuits, we found out that there was an arbitrator's award going back to 1990, that this union had filed regarding temporary time, which is provisional time, and the member actually lost. And the arbitrator actually said, union seniority is based on the time the person became a union member. So I said, that's it. Because we were losing cases. Am I correct, Howard? Filing cases, I'm sorry. So we now put this in the contract. So now it's law across the land, right? That's what it is. Provisional time counts towards union seniority. That's it, cut and dry. Providing there's no break in service, okay? And that's it. And hopefully there won't be no more lawsuits, but there probably will be. But that's how this works. Day after Thanksgiving as a holiday, that was a big item. Last contract, I don't know why. I guess it works in some departments it doesn't. And then it came up again during these proposals, during this contract. And we decided to go with the day after Thanksgiving across the board. It makes it easier, because some places had day after Thanksgiving, some departments had day after Thanksgiving, other departments did not, and they had Lincoln's birthday. Very confusing. It's really a nuisance, actually. So we went with straight across the board, day after Thanksgiving, that's it. Lincoln's birthday's off the table. Maybe one day we'll go back and we'll try to renegotiate to get Lincoln's birthday as an additional holiday. Sick leave cash out, this was big. This was another fight that we had that actually prolonged the contract prior couple of months, right? We were looking for sick leave cash out. The company didn't want to give it to us. So what we did, we asked again, this 70-60, for those who were familiar with it, began in 1998. It was put in the contract in 1998, where if you had 70% of your sick time, you would retire with 60% of that value. So we finally made some changes to that now, that if you have 70%, you now get 70%, okay? So we went back to 1998 to make that change. And what that does actually, depending on how much sick time you have, that could add anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000 or $12,000 in your pocket, where you'd be leaving on the table for them. So that was a big, big move. TSO, the Transit Supervisors Organization, did not get that in their contract. All right, we did. Okay, Appendix B, for buses. Department of Buses, CDL medical reimbursement, they weren't getting it. TW gets it. ATU 726 gets it. So now we get it. Our members over there get that reimbursement. Single day quota for birthday holiday. That is strictly for buses. Buses is very, they have quotas in the depots and their bus maintenance shops. And they have books and they sign in and they want the day off or whatnot. So it was a big thing for them. They wanted to celebrate their birthday as a holiday, right? Excuse me. So we were working it out with the vice president of buses, and that's the clause we came up with. So if a person in a depot wants to be off for their birthday, they can do so in accordance with their seniority. If there's two people in a depot that have the same birthday, then the person with the most seniority will get the day. So it's a step in the right direction. You know, and a lot of these things we try, at least I try in the contract, if I could open a door to something in a smaller area and it works, I then can open it up elsewhere next round of bargaining. You know, that's what I try to do. So this is a door opening. That's what that really is. And then next go around the bargaining, we move it up forward. We keep going with it. Maintenance department, it was the bus maintenance MS1s. They had a few proposals on the table. Of course, the department wasn't budging on them. And one of the proposals was winter jackets. And, you know, so that's what they got. They got winter jackets and bus maintenance. As far as I understand, that's what they wanted. That's what they're happy with. I try to listen to the vice presidents of the sections. You know, we can't get this. What do you want to get? And that's what I do. You know, what do you want me to ask for? And they tell me, let's try to get this, let's try to get that, and then I try. And we get what we get. All right, Department of Subways. Trainers differential. For those who don't work in RTO and stations, when you go to school car in RTO and stations, and you know, you have your trainers, right? I know in maintenance away, it's the station, the maintenance level 2 that do the training. Well, in RTO, it's TSSs. It's also station level 1s. They work in the fire school, the training center, PS 248, and they do all the training. So training was a big thing in RTO. So what we did for all those trainers that work in those schools, they're going to get $3,250 additional to their rate of pay on top of what they're going to make with the 9.5%. And that's only providing that they're working in the school. When they come out of the school, they don't get that $3,250 anymore. Okay? So we did that for them. Stations level 1s, rate of pay. The stations level members have been, and I have to say it, they've been stepped on for many, many years. Okay? Prior to my administration as well. And when I took over, I made a promise to some divisions, some sections, and they were definitely one of them. And last round of bargaining, I went to the table to try to get them an increase because their workload was changing. And their management over there was a disaster and kept pushing them down, pushing them down. So I promised them something. I said, listen, I'm going to do what I can. And unfortunately, last go around the bargaining, I wasn't able to accomplish that for them. And they weren't happy. They made their voices very clear to me. And I says, okay, we're coming back this round. We're gonna do it again. Just give me another shot. And we went back to the table, and we were able to get station management and labor relations to move on giving station level ones the additional $4,000. And it's not a continuous thing. It's a one-time boost up. So they'll get that effective August 1st, and they'll get their 9.5% raises, and that will be their rate of pay forever. Well, until we get more raises, right? Another contract, but that's what they'll be going up by 4,000. I just want to touch on something here. The station level ones and the ATDs made the same amount of money. Now, I'm an ATD. I'm an assistant trained dispatcher from RTO. I'm in 35 years in this job. And I fought to try to get the ATDs a bump up the same thing as the station level ones. And I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it clear, all right? That the fight, when I presented that fight, management said, Mike, you are wrong. ATDs have been making more money than station level ones. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? I'm an ATD. They said, no, ATDs gets a 12-minute a day, if you want to call it a transfer information, it's a bonus or whatever, built into their paycheck. So they make an additional $2,200 more a year than station level ones. And they've been making it for years. I said, well, if you add in the 12 minutes, I understand that, but they're ready to pay it. And I was trying to move and jiggle and whatever I had to do. And because I was trying to boost the both titles up, because everybody knows how I am. I did this last time with the property protection supervisors, who was the lowest paid in our union. I brought them up to our level, to ATD and station level 1 level last round. We got them a boost up, them and elevators and escalators, because I think our title structure has been so far behind for many, many years. And I'm trying to, I can't get everybody boosted up right away. There's no way of doing that. There's not enough money to do that. So I do it every contract. I'll go back for 2 titles. I'll grab another 2, get them boosted up, bring them up. And my position has always been that an MS1, maintenance supervisor level 1, no matter what section, no matter what department you work for, you all should be making the same amount of money. It all should be the same rate of pay for an MS1 title. Like I said, we are not a trades union. We are an industrial union, transportation, industry, okay? And right now, the highest paid MS1 is $109,000 after this new contract gets ratified. There's some other titles in MS1 will be making 107. So next round of bargaining, I have a little bit of a task to go. I need to bring those $107 members up to the 109, bring up the ATDs a little boost, and complete my goal as bringing our title structure to a certain level, amongst other things I have to do. So that's what the station level 1 piece. Am I done? Oh, I might be done. Huh? What do I have there? Oh, sorry. Yeah, the stations, there's one more thing with stations, is the pilot language in the PIC. For years, and like I said, stations has been stepped on for a long time. They have binding PIC, but it's this pilot program. So we finally got the pilot language taken out. So that's also been taken out. And with that, I think I'm done with that, right? Stations I'm done with, and I got, oh, here we go. We got maintenance away. In maintenance away, another issue that came about was with the power cable, power electric, and power distribution. They were MS1 level MS1s. And they came to me and said, listen, we've been short-sighted since 1998. And I looked at the contracts and I said, well, something happened. I see what you're saying. I said, well, listen, got to give me a chance at the table of contract to see what I could do for you guys. And this go around, we did that. So that clause on the power department rates of pay, those 3 titles that I said shall be increased to that of the titles of maintenance, MS1 signals, MS1 elevators, and MS1 car equipment. Now, I told you before, I got elevators and escalators bumped up last go-round, okay? And signals, I'm sorry, and signals, thank you, John. So I got those two titles boosted up last go-round of bargaining. I got them up to the level of car equipment, because car equipment is one of the highest paid MS1s, okay? And rightfully so, okay? So my plan is that someday, maybe I'm hoping during my administration, that I be able to say every MS1 makes the same amount of money, no matter where they're from. And if not, I hope the person that takes over for me will continue that way, because that is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. All right? Caption number 2, elevators. Where it says elevators, the SSSA will maintain good working condition to help with the ADA community. That's just a clause in there. I told you about the 2 months before and all that other stuff with the Americans with Disabilities Acts and TWU and stuff like that. The elevator license, in the elevator division, they have to maintain some kind of credentials to work there. So TWU got their members about a year and change ago, $3 more an hour for training and stuff like that. The authority has to send you for training, and you have to maintain these certifications. So they got an extra $3 an hour, so we got the same thing. So that's what that $3 means. No, it's not for everybody. It's just for those people that are working in that specific unit. That's it. I'm sorry, what? QEI qualified. Yeah. All right, so that's D. Now, hold on, what is this? All right, D and E group, yeah. What? Yeah, E is the same as that. All right, track division. Another issue with TEMs, track equipment maintainers who came to me as well a couple of years back. They also asked for a boost up in salary, just like the station level ones and the other sections that we did. Unfortunately, this round of bargaining, we weren't able to accomplish that. But again, like I said, it'll be back on the table next year, and we'll knock off a couple of more sections. And hopefully there'll be one of those sections where we can get them a boost up as well. But in the track division itself, regular track division, we were trying to get some training time or shadowing time pay, which they call it over in track, shadow time, and shadowing with a new senior supervisor. Stations calls it the same thing. In RTO, we call it posting. And so, unfortunately, the VP over there did not want to give us anything. And so we ended up with jackets, winter jackets, in that section. I don't think too many people are happy with that, but that was one of the proposals. People, not one, but they wanted winter jackets on some of their proposals. So we couldn't get them some of these other money items, so we got winter jackets. RTO, if you look down, you see RTO caption number 1, discussions about the console train dispatch, that's Rail Control Center. There's discussions going on because they're not really represented by us, but they do pay their dues to us. The Transit Authority pays the union dues money to us. And we've been trying to bring them fully back into the union. So there's going to be continued talks on that after the contract is done. In property protection, like I told you before, in property protection, we got the property protection supervisors a boost up in pay last go around to ATD and station level 1 salary last contract. And this contract, they had a list of things on their proposals. We weren't able to accomplish certain things, so we did get them one item, which was RDO swaps, which was big to them. So we got them the RDO swaps on that. All right. That's it. Is that it? Yeah, it's page 8. I'm finished. Got everything done. All right. Everything is on the MOU is done. Any questions? Feel free to come up to the mic and ask them.
How you you doing? Good morning, TSS Ministersky. I just got a question about the health thing. I've been at TSS for 4 years, right?
Right.
And I want the option to choose if I want to go to night shift or not. Why was that not on the table?
Okay, let me explain that to you. The problem with that was that when these plans were negotiated, right, prior to my administration, the first 5 years that a member gets promoted to our union is where the cost savings was for TW and the Transit Authority. So in essence, when I said we had no control over the members that got promoted into our union with Aetna for 10 years, we really didn't. We don't have any control, but the first 5 years, total no control, to the point where I couldn't even bargain for you. So that's why it was the first 5 years. If you were in the Aetna plan for the first 5 years and you're not entitled, you don't get an option. You have to stay in it, because I couldn't control that, because this is what I'm saying, how sick these plans were. TW is getting a credit for those members. TW and the Transit Authority, it's like a credit they get. That's because you're part of a group insurance plan. So I couldn't negotiate that at all. I tried. I said, I want all my members to have an option. There's no way we could do it. Believe me. And I was even taken aback by it, that I actually called the former president of this union and asked him if he was aware of that. And he said, yeah, there was something with that, the first 5 years was where their money was. I said, okay, what am I supposed to do? So that's why you don't have the option, okay? But let me be clear with one thing here. This is a one-time option, but there's a reason why I made it a one-time option, okay? Was because, like I said, I pooled it into that money that we owe Transit with that $985,000. So I wouldn't be able to gauge a credit if I didn't do a one-time option. So if people switch over from night shift to Aetna, if that's what you choose to do, and I'm not telling anybody to do that. I'm in night shift myself. But if you do, I get a credit for that, right? To knock off that $985. But once that's done, it's done. So next year's the next round of bargaining, next year's the next round of bargaining, things may change again. You understand? But I'm being honest with you. That's what I was told, and I checked it out, and it's factual. So I really had no control of the 5-year guys, unfortunately.
I understand, but I just want to say from my side, when I was looking to become a supervisor,
right,
that was one of the things I was looking at.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The night shift.
The health insurance.
Right.
You know, that was one of the major things I just want to say, and this is where I'm hitting a wall with this whole thing. I understand.
And how many years you got?
4 years.
You just got 4 years.
Yes. And I just want to put it out.
No,
I understand you battling a lot of things on the table there. There's a lot of things. This is my first meeting,
right,
in a union meeting.
Right.
I
respect that.
This is a big one, of course. I think it's a big.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm sorry that I know people are going to get caught up in it, and unfortunately, there was nothing I could do about it. If I could have, why wouldn't I open it up to everybody? Believe me, I'm not going to say, oh, let's just isolate these five-year guys. Why? Why would I do that? Unless I was compelled to do that, because there was no other way of doing it. And like I said, these plans, these medical plans, when they were negotiated with us and the way TW and the company negotiated them, and then they come here for 10 years, I never understood that, and I knew there was a value, but the value was actually for TW and the company, because it's a group plan, and they have this long-term value to it, right? Mm-hmm. And then at the table, when I asked for the option, they said, okay, you guys, the first 5 years, you can't touch. I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't know. And they explained it to me, and I said, that doesn't sound right. How's that possible? And we had also hired actuaries, a company called Siegel and Company. Myself and the TSO union hired them to come in and do actual numbers on all this. So I didn't do it myself. We didn't, I made sure the numbers were right. You know, I'm no medical professional. So we did hire a company to look at this, and they even said, that sounds right. So I called the former president of the union to ask him, like, hey, do you, and he remembered, he says, there was something like that with 5 years. He didn't remember all the particulars, but he did say there was something there. So we were stuck. And I can't throw a plan out just to, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we went with the plan, you know? What?
Just FYI, the new plan that he negotiated with Aetna is actually very comparable to night shift right now. So
I don't know the details, and I'm listening to you, of course. Yes.
You will be getting them in the mail.
Yes.
But the plans are
Yeah.
very, very similar.
Yeah, let me ask you a question too. What in night shift, what were you specifically looking for with night shift? What did you think about night shift that you were looking for?
I just thought it was a better plan.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't know the details.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be honest
Yeah,
with
no,
you.
no, I
don't know the
understand.
details.
Yeah.
I just thought there's a reason why it's there, and we're holding
Well,
on to that.
I can tell you the
and there's
reason-
something to look forward
Right.
to.
I can tell you the reason why it was there, because back in 2000, when the president that was in my seat before me, when he negotiated, it was called the gold standard plan, right? It was considered gold standard. The only people that had it was the managers, and it was a fantastic plan. It was probably the best thing he ever did for this union when he went there, and he was able to get the MTA to agree to that. It was the gold standard. But no sooner did he get it, the plan started to change, and it continues to change. And for any of those people that have night shift right now, you just got your book in the mail, your new night shift book. Now, on the face value, you'll see in the night shift book that they changed the plans from the HMO and the PPO. You'll see you're paying less co-payments, but there's fine prints and it takes effect July 1st. So night shift over the years, we also, a year and a half ago, lost specialty doctors in night shift. So before, if you went to a specialty doctor outside the network, you would get reimbursed from night shift. They did away with it. And it's a big problem with these night shift plans. But, you know, I'm in night shift. I haven't made a decision what I want to do yet. And don't even call me to ask me what you should do. That's a decision for you, your spouse, your significant other, your children, whatever. I don't want to know about it. All right? We'll help you through it, but we're not going to make decisions for you. What?
If this contract passes, the Aetna plan that you currently have, the president has improved it. Your spousal survivor benefits, you didn't have any. Today you don't have spousal survivor benefits outside of what he mentioned, that 1 year and then the COBRA.
Yes, yes.
Under the new contract, if it's ratified, your Aetna that you're going to end up staying in because you're under
They're
that
gonna
5-year
have it.
window is already improved to include that. And that was the big draw. For somebody that's been in this union since 1999, that was the big draw for night shift, is we had lifetime benefits and so did our spouses. So on that level, I understand what you're saying, that it's nice to have a choice, but you're being brought up to that level
Of
when the
benefit.
contract gets ratified.
Yeah.
And one more thing, I don't know if this is the platform. I just hazard pay for sub-C TSSs?
No.
No?
If you're talking about hazard pay for COVID, or you're talking about hazard pay?
No.
No,
Like the flaggers get?
no, that wasn't on the table this go around the bargaining, nor did I receive a proposal on it, to be honest. So that's something for you to put up next year as a proposal, maybe,
Yeah, I'm gonna
you know?
start.
No,
getting it, yeah.
listen, I appreciate it, not a problem.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Very much, thank you.
Any more? Anybody else? Oh, okay, wait, she got someone coming up to the mic.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Train dispatcher Scott.
Okay.
I actually have a lot on my mind. This was not an RTO contract. We didn't really get anything in this contract. And I'm a bit surprised there was nothing about maternity leave. Women been down here for over 45 years. I think it's time we catch up to other companies and unions and stuff. I didn't see anything about that in the contract at all.
Okay, when you say maternity leave,
Where do we stand in terms of maternity leave?
well, we have maternity, paternity, we got that in the last contract, and we also have the new FMLA in this new contract under the state.
That's just a month. And with FMLA, you go through so much back and forth, and they're telling you you have to come back to work and you're not prepared. I'm not a mother, but I understand what the mothers go through. They kind of force them back to work before they're ready. What are
Right.
you guys planning to do about that?
Well-
What are you guys planning to do in terms of increasing the amount of time that we have for maternity leave?
Well, like I said, last contract, I understand what you're saying. Last contract, we put in our contract for the first time maternity, paternity leave, right? This round of bargaining, what we did, we put it, it's still in there, of course, from last round of negotiations. This round of bargaining, we have the New York State Family Leave Act, which was in the contract now too, which also intertwines with the maternity leave, maternity, paternity leave. As far as individual situations, right, that's an internal issue which would be dealt with the rep. If a parent is out on maternity leave and they exhausted the maternity, paternity, they exhausted the FMLA through the New York State, which that's in the contract as well, then those issues, and the parent needs to be out further, then we would have to address that as a union. But that's addressed at the vice president and section level, staff level, and things like that. That's, I mean, if you're asking to get extended time in the contract for maternity, well then we'll be more than happy to take that as a proposal for next round of bargaining. But that wasn't on the table this time.
Okay. I also heard you speak about what we call posting. Why is it some departments, supervisors get paid for students, but us in RTO and other departments don't? If we're all under the same SSSA, don't you think it should be something across the board where it's not like some should get paid and some don't?
Well, when you say,
Our dispatchers, ATDs, TSSs, we don't get paid for students. And sometimes when some of them refuse, managers kind of get angry like, somebody have to post them, but we're not being paid. We're taking responsibility for someone, and if they make a mistake, it falls on us.
right, 100%. What other departments you're talking about that gets paid to train students? Buses just got a stipulation, which is a pilot program, regarding training new students, right? They just got that. That just happened right before the holidays. And that was a door opening to try to get everywhere else. Okay, as you can see, it's not in our contract, all right? It wasn't a contractual item that was placed in the contract. They refused to do so, okay? In RTO, like I said, they refused to do that because they considered, in RTO, Demetrius Critchlow, the senior vice president, at the table considers a trainer, someone in school car. Okay, that's what they consider a trainer, a person who's working, and I'm an ATD.
So
So I've posted students myself, okay? And I understand the issue, okay? But they refused to give us that at this point. So we were able to get the trainers in school car the money. We were able to talk to buses outside the contract and get a separate stipulation that they'll train new students, but it's 15 days only. There's a cap to it on that. So in other words, a student is being trained only for 15 days with different trainers, of course, and they get 2 hours. But that was a private stip under a pilot program, which we're hoping works, and we'll know in a year's time, well before next year's contract. If it works, then we could solidify that in the contract and possibly trickle that over into places like RTO, places like track division, things like that, that don't have that.
But you're saying that Critchlow said that people in school car, they consider trainers, but then why put them to post with us if we're not considered trainers? Then we're not qualified.
That has been my fight with him as well. What he's saying is that the person in the field is not training the person. Of course, I beg to differ that. They're saying that he or she, the new student, is in the dispatcher's office watching and observing, right? There's no actual school car instruction. Of course, that was his position. My position was otherwise, okay? Because I am an ATD, and I was a conductor. So I'm fully aware of what that is, and he did not want to hear it. So there comes a point in contract negotiations when you're at a no, and the clock is ticking, and the months are clicking by, and you're still at a no. As a leader of this union, and as a team here, we have to say, okay, I think we have to start to close the door and we'll fight another day for this.
Okay.
That's the answer. That's the best I could tell you.
Okay, this is a major topic for me that hit very hard to home. COVID, it affected us more than any other industry out here. We lost the most amount of people. But I feel like transit did not take our pain into consideration. I was expecting this contract to have something for mental health days. We
Okay.
need that. A lot of us been through a lot since COVID. I personally been through a lot. I had it, and I did not know I'm the one who gave my whole family it because they never listed headache as a symptoms until after I came back to work.
Right.
I had a headache for 29 days.
Wow.
Then my brother, who's a TSS, almost died from COVID. So I feel like transit is very inconsiderate when it comes to COVID. We need mental health days. Everyone else, grocery workers, everyone else was rewarded for their hard work. We were not.
Right.
And they have no, I'm not finished.
Yeah.
They have no type of respect for us when it comes to that. I have been quarantined because they said of contact tracing. I lost a lot of sick time, and I have yet to get my sick time back from having COVID and from being put out against my will because they said of contact tracing.
Right.
And then timekeeping forced me to put it as sick on my time card. I was not sick. You put me out, and I have yet to get my time back. What are you guys planning to do about that? A lot of us lost time for that.
No, we fully understand that, and you're 100% right. Let me just address, there was like two-part question there. The first question was about the COVID, right? And we did present it at the table. The problem was, like I said, there's a pattern bargaining, right? So when we started this contract, it was pre-COVID, and TW settled their contract pre-COVID. So everything, and it's, I know this is the good and bad with this type of bargaining. We presented hazard pay for people that were dealing with COVID, the pandemic. We presented cost of living, okay, because of the way things are today. And we were faced with, this is not a post-COVID contract. It's a pre-COVID contract, patterned pre-COVID. And this was another fight with them. So they said, let's see what TW does. So now TW, as you can see, if you see some of their proposals, they're asking for post-COVID items, which we will be doing the same thing when we go back next year, because now we're post-COVID. But we were negotiating this contract, which was a pre-COVID pattern system. So there was no monies for that because that wasn't what was designed in 2019, 2020 for us to negotiate this contract with. But those issues are going to be on the table next year. And again, we see what TW is going to possibly get, and then we grab that and maybe a little extra, like I said. But again, we won't know that until we move forward. Second part of your question is in regards to sick time and loss of sick time. You know, I know during COVID, there was administrative pay, there was state pay, there was all kinds of crap going on. Even Transit Authority didn't even understand half of it, and they weren't giving us no answers. I could tell you this much. There's probably about a handful of unions, us included, that are still dealing with the authority on issues like that, regards to people's sick time, people who retired, who were going out, but they got COVID, and they were out 20, 30, 40, whatever days they were out, and it hindered their retirement sick leave cash out, which it should have never done that. So we're still dealing with the authority, but just not this union. It's a bunch of unions. We all have the same problem. And Transit, of course, typical TA way, is they're so behind the eight ball that everything is not just black and white. It's not like you go in there and say, I need to know how many members you screwed, you know, when they retired because they had COVID and they lost 20 days and brought them below the threshold. I need to know that number. They don't even give you a number. They don't even know it. So we're still dealing with that. And hopefully we'll have some resolve soon.
Also in terms of COVID, how are you guys going to deal with long-term COVID? Because I've been diagnosed with long-term COVID.
Well,
we still have side effects from being sick. And is there FMLA provisions that you guys are trying to get there for us? What are you guys doing in terms of
like
that?
I said, it's all the same thing. The unions are all dealing with this. We're all together, not all together, but there's a handful of us, right? TW included, by the way, that are looking at all these situations that happened during COVID, what happened to our members during COVID with their sick leave, their long-term COVID, there's discipline, people were disciplined, believe it or not, and we're dealing with all this. We're working together, but again, the company, it's the transit. I mean, the presidents could be together, but if the company doesn't come forth with information, then that becomes a problem. But we are working on it, and hopefully it'll pick up after this TW contract is done, because everything's on them right now. Everybody's tied up with them, and hopefully they're going to resolve their contract very soon, and we can get back to the table with the union heads and the company to resolve these COVID issues.
I hope we're not mirroring what they just gave to them.
What was that?
It was horrible. You said we mirror what they give to TW. Have you read the last proposal they did to them?
Oh,
They
no,
give
I just
it's
seen,
horrible.
no, I just seen what the transit authorities asked them back
Right.
for, right? And I'm gonna tell you something, 35 years I'm down here, and I worked in TW, and I negotiated with them in contracts, because I was an elected officer for them. I've never seen the MTA, the transit authority, submit proposals like they did this go around the bargaining. Now, they always come to the table. And by the way, while you're from RTO, they did ask us back for something in RTO. They were trying to ask us back for the 12 minutes a day. Okay? Yeah. Believe that or not. And I went to town on them on it because I said, no, we paid for that. You had, not under my administration, you got broadbanding and yard masters back in the contracts for that 12 minutes. So we paid for that. You're not asking that, and they were asking it back, and then they took it off the table. So, but I got it was an eye-opener because they never really asked you for things back, at least in the last 3 or 4 contracts, even before my administration. They really never ask for back. It's strange. You go in there and you fight your thing, you get what you get, and they don't ask you for anything. I've seen the proposals for TW, and there's about 3 pages.
It's bad.
And it's bad.
Very bad.
It's very bad. Decrease of vacation time, OTO thing. It's pretty much mostly availability issues, but some of those things they could be asking for us back next year, and that's another problem.
Like the TSS, and you're speaking about the medical.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying they have a one-time to switch, but did you see what they did to the medical? If you switch, you actually be taking something worse. Did you see what they proposed for TW medical?
No, I don't know what they. Listen, they could do whatever they want with the T. See, this is what I'm saying. This is why we took this back from TW. The truth of it is just think about what I'm going to say to you, and I understand. I've read it. If we didn't have this deal, if we didn't just do this nice ship Aetna deal where you stay with us now, and you could switch one-time option. If we didn't address this, what this member has said. If TW gives that back to them, every one of our members here with 10 years and below would pay that price for what TW gives them. But they can't do that now. If this contract gets ratified tomorrow, that will not happen. And I want to point out something. For those who have had Aetna in 2019, when TW negotiated in their 2019 contract for the increase of hospital emergency room increase, every one of my members had to pay that increase. And I had no say-so in that, for those who remember that, okay? And situation like you just stated about that health coverage, if this contract does not pass and gets ratified today, tomorrow, and next week by the MTA, every one of my members will pay the price for TW at that point. That's a problem. It's a big problem. But if they present that to me next year, I will not even address that. I'd sooner go to an arbitrator at that point if I had to, all right, which I'm not happy about. But that's TW's issue. This is our issue, all right? So I would have say-so in that.
Okay, my final thing. What is the status when it comes to written report? Why is it supervisors don't get paid for written reports? And a lot of time we have to stay on our own time to write these written reports because it's so busy throughout the day.
Right. That was another proposal that was on the desk, on the table with Demetrius Critchlow. And their position is that a supervisor in RTO, ATD, TD, TSS, yard master, we have enough time to, I know.
about-
Listen, we can laugh about it, but this is there. We have enough time to write a written report. Why do we have to pay you for that? And you're a supervisor, that's your job. And I fought them on it. Listen, like I told you, I'm 35 years in RTO. And, well, if you stay late, of course, you gotta put it in for a late report, a late clear.
They won't pay you.
But, I know. And then you grieve it. You grieve it to us. All right? And we're having numerous problems about things like this, too, in various departments, where our members are coming to work early and starting work for free and leaving work late and not putting in for late clears, and
Yes,
they're not listening to
or
us.
no lunches.
Yes, and the problem is that then they're asking us to get them more money in those departments, and we're like, how can we get you more money? You're doing this for the last 15 years for free. The companies, they know this. And unfortunately, if you got to write a report after your clearing time, submit a late clear. If they do not pay you, you call us, and we'll grieve that right away, because that'll stop. Because they don't want to give it to us. It is ridiculous.
I think maybe a requirement for being vice president or president, come spend a day in each of our lives, and maybe then they will understand what we're going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah? Yeah. Thank you. Who's this?
Hi, everybody. Mike Ribando, MOW, 14th Street, and infrastructure. And question is, you know, I'd like to thank the lady, first of all, speaking up about the COVID, you know, I think it's very important. I think what I'm going to talk about feels like, yeah, thank you. I feel like what I'm talking about is a little trivial, it sounds a little trivial, but, you know, I've been a supervisor for a good number of years, but, you know, you know, as I'm looking at the last contract, you know, it takes 6 years for a supervisor to get top pay. You know, and I don't see anything of that be addressed. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, why does the supervisor wait 6 years to be top pay? I mean, it's like a supervisor with 1 year of service or a supervisor with 6 years of service still has to do the same paperwork. I can't say, you know, it's like, oh, I'm going to do 1/3 of the paperwork because I'm not at top pay, you know. Mm-hmm. So we still have to do the same work no matter what, you know. So is there anything on the table about that?
Yeah, let me tell you something about this. The wage progressions, first of all, I didn't negotiate wage progressions, right? We've been trying, I don't understand them. First of all, TW put those in place many years ago, right? When you get hired, you come in, it was originally 3 years, and then they went to 5 years, and the SSSA union at the time just followed suit, right? I don't understand how you do 5 years in an hourly union. You paid your dues, then you take a promotion, you gotta do another 5 years. That's 10 years before you reach top salary and your title. I'm all for you, believe me. And I'm not just sitting up here blowing steam. I'm telling you the God's honest truth. It's a problem. And, you know, I didn't negotiate those contracts. And as a matter of fact, and I know some people may not like what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it anyway, with those wage progressions, we had a big problem last round of bargaining, okay? And that last round of bargaining was in RTO. See, the former president negotiated these 5-year wage progressions, and he made a big mistake. And he made a mistake because the language that was put into that contract was totally off, and it affected our members in RTO. So an ATD that was 2 or 3 years in title gets promoted to TD, right? You know where they went back to? They went back to 1 year TD. It would take almost 8 years to 12 years before a person possibly, depending on what title they came from, in RTO to get to top salary in the same department. And we were screwed. So we had to put together another wage progression in RTO, a separate one. All right? It's not perfect at all. But we put together a new wage progression in RTO last round of bargaining to stop that. So now a ATD that has 3 years, 2 years, or 4 years as an ATD and gets a promotion to TD will go 4th year TD instead of 1st year TD. A TD that gets a promotion to TSS will go straight to the same year that that person was in the prior title. We had to fix it, all right? We structured it the best way we could. But what I could tell you on this, the MTA and the unions, including us, this is not just a SSSA issue. It's a issue across the board with all the unions with the wage progression. They've given us assurances, the unions, that we're going to the table. We're going to discuss how we can fix wage progression outside of the contract. That's what took place at this contract negotiations, because it wasn't just this union, it was the TSO, the ATU, other unions were also pushing this wage progression problem. So the MTA is aware of it. It is a problem. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working when people take promotions into these supervisory unions. But it's also not working in the hourly unions as well. So somewhere down the road, if these meetings come off, maybe we'll be able to change something outside the scope of the contract. In other words, maybe getting them dropped down to 3 years at a certain rate. And then if you take a promotion to supervisor, you don't need to wait 3 years, you wait 1 year. Who knows? Maybe we can go back. But the MTA is aware of it, and they actually agree that they don't work. So we're just going to wait till we get the teams together. We're going to address that. You address the COVID issues. That's what's supposed to happen. And if it does happen, I will keep everybody informed via our website, via Facebook. We're not shy. We try to tell you as much as we can. Okay?
Thank you. And I just want to thank you for your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother. Did you have a question? I'm sorry, I ignored you before.
Pension board that I received a pay increase that they could adjust my pension.
Yeah. What he asked was, what he asked, he's retired. So he had asked two questions. One question was, he's retired. How does he get notified about his retro and all the monies that's owed him, being he's retired? Does he have to notify the pension board that he got an increase for those years, and so he can get his pension assessed, right? The other question was about the city unions, as you see the teachers, the teachers in DC 37, I think it was, who just gave away their retirees' medical benefit, right? And how does that affect him? It does not affect you at all. We did not give anybody's medical benefit away. And two, what's supposed to happen, once this contract is ratified, then all the ball starts to roll, right? As I said earlier on in my speech, the BSC will then start the process, and then they'll notify the pensions liaison, and then they'll send that all to NICERS for a pension adjustment for all those retirees. Supposed to, all right? But I'm going to tell anybody here that's retired or recently retired, you need to stay on top of it, right? And we're your union. You can call us. We'll stay on top of it. We'll look into it for you. If you think you're getting the runaround, give us a call. Give your rep a call, your former rep, and he or she will handle that and try to get you the information you need. But as far as the medical goes, no, there's no change. We didn't touch anything in the retiree benefit at all. There's nothing. And nor will I ever. Any other questions? Oh, right here. Do the wage increases include night differential? Well, it would be considered what? Well, I mean, night differential is if you work those hours, you'd get paid for whatever those hours were, right? For the, oh, no. You're asking if is there a night differential increase? Oh, no. The night differential, there's no night differential increase. It is what it is. That's the way it is. Night differential has not been touched since last round of bargaining when we boosted it up by 5%, right? And that was it. But no, that hasn't been increased. But it's based on your hourly rate anyway. It's based on your salary. So it's not like, you know. Am I wrong? Oh, it's a flat. I'm sorry, flat rate. Forgive me. Forgive me. Because I'm not perfect either. No. All right.
You straight time, you work, that's going to increase by 2.5%, but the fact that you work on weekends and
Will be what, yeah,
you're going to get the same amount.
the same amount that you had last contract, yes. All right?
Good
Yes,
morning.
Fred. Good
I'm a
morning.
TSS on the B division.
Yes.
What is your strategy like in terms of leverage when you go into these meetings? Because for them to tell you that that the students just watch on standby and you to fold on that is crazy.
Well, I didn't fold on just that, okay? And it's not like that. It's not like I go in and I ask for something and all of a sudden they tell me no and I say, oh, okay.
But that's something like,
No.
there's no way they should get away with that.
Okay.
Because that's like,
Okay,
anybody
so-
who's a supervisor, no, that's absolutely not true.
Okay, so what is the alternative? Okay, do you strike?
I don't know. You're
No.
the union
No,
president.
no, I'm saying. So I'm
what's
saying,
the sense of the union
well,
if
the thing of it is we go in, we fight, we lead the fight to try to get something for our members, okay? And we lead that fight until we can't fight no more, right? So there's other things. You do job actions, right, which is against the Taylor law. You can't strike, which is against the Taylor law, okay? You have to let them present to you why they don't want to give it to you. Is there a cost factor? Well, that's what happens.
right? But
so
I'm
they
saying,
cost it out.
but
So
their reason should make sense.
well, their reason
It
to
shouldn't
them,
like be like, oh
their-
no, because that
no,
doesn't
their
make sense.
reason makes sense to them.
But it
okay?
doesn't make
It
sense
doesn't
to
make
us.
sense to me because, to me, I look at the transit authority as a pot of gold, right? That they have money. You got to remember that my position as president and my time down here, 35 years, every time the transit cries poverty, they're full of baloney. There's plenty of money, right? Then we go in there, I ask for things. And they say, well, if we're going to give you 2 hours to train students for every student you post, that comes out to, I'm just throwing a number now, right? $2.2 million. That's what it'll cost. How can we pay for that? Well, my fight is, well, last I saw was Washington, D.C. gave you $6 billion. Then they gave you another $8 billion, which made it $14 billion to settle contracts. That's how you're going to pay for that, right? And that's what we do at the table, right? But you got to remember, we also, as a contract, we're given a set number on our contract, right? Our contract value is, this go around, the value was $5,178,000. That's what the contract value is under pattern bargaining. Out of that, you take raises out of that and everything else, and you're left with practically nothing to bargain with. And everything is fight, 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 and then you have to get a department who maybe, what the hell's this? Oh. You have to get a department to be sympathetic to you, right, to some degree, and understand. But you got to remember, most of these managers nowadays didn't come up the ranks like we did. They didn't work in these departments. They didn't come up as a conductor, a cleaner, this one or that one. Most of them are.
So invite them out. Invite them out to the field.
Yeah, well, listen, I got news for you. I got 100%. You know, it's funny you said that because I did, in fact, tell Demetrius Critchlow, I said, D, I said, you came out of RTO, not as a worker. You were an AGM, a general manager at one point. I says, but you think you know RTO, but you really don't know what we do. And I said to him, and this is a fact, I says, let me ask you a question. This happened in negotiations. I says, tomorrow, me and you are going to go down to Stillwell Avenue. I says, and you're going to work the dispatcher's desk. And he looked at me, he said, what are you talking about? I said, because you can't. You can't. I said, you could manage the dispatcher. Anybody could bark an order, but you can't do that man's job. And this is the fight that we lead. You understand? That's how it's done. You know, like I said, I'm at an RTO for 35 years.
But then that should be a point for us.
Huh?
That should be a point for us. If they're not willing to come and see it and you propose it, then that should be to our benefit, right?
Well, it's to our benefit,
That
but
he should understand, okay, I'm
yeah,
not
but
going
he
to come out, so
doesn't.
we give you that.
But you have to understand, I present the point, he says to you, yeah, you're right. I don't know how to dispatch. I don't know how to move a train. I was never a TSS. I was never this. I was never that. But at the end of the day, it's like, but we're still not giving it to you. They can understand all we want, and it's a problem, and I understand that, believe me. But we do lead the fight. It's not just a matter of fact.
So we have no fight. We just pleading to get certain things.
Well, listen. This is not pleading. Let me explain something to you. For 2.5 months prior to this date, this contract was held up by me for 2 departments, 2, RTO and car equipment. Everything else was done. Why was everything else done? Because the management in those departments finally saw the light that they should give us something, right? And we fought and fought and fought. 2 departments, 2.5 months ago, we were at zilch, and I'm from RTO, and I couldn't believe it. And we kept going after both these departments. Car equipment and RTO were the last, and I'm going to tell you something. If you would have asked me when I started this negotiations if RTO would be one of the last departments, I would have said, no way. RTO is going to be like one of my first that's going to give me something, and then that's going to be it. And we fought. We fought. And that's where we are. And thank God, to some degree, we got something out of RTO. We didn't get nothing out of car equipment. Car equipment was relentless. Relentless. I mean, it was out of control. The vice president over there, that woman should not be there. She should not be there. That she actually said to me that I don't know how to run my own staff. Okay? And that's something you don't do at a bargaining table. I'm sorry. And I try to be cordial. She was a female, and if she was a man, I would have said some other things. But she was a female, and I had to refrain from saying what I really wanted to say. But at the end of the day, bargaining is hard with these people, and it's probably going to get harder. But like I said, the best that we do, we go to the table, we fight, we present our case to the best of our ability, and we try to get them to see it our way. And the worst thing they could do, I prefer them saying to me, no, you're wrong, I don't see it that way. I could accept that. When they tell me at the table, I see your point, you're right, but we can't do that. That kills me more because you just agreed that we do deserve it, but you just don't want to give it to me. So what do? Do you take out a baseball bat? What do you do? This is not 1940 or 1950. The unions back in those days, a manager wouldn't talk like that to a union leader, right? Because he'd walk out the door and he'd get his legs broken, and I'm talking frankly. We don't do that no more. Because if we attempted to, I'm in handcuffs, I'm in jail, it's over. Okay, and somebody else will be standing up here taking my seat saying, yeah, Karubi was an idiot. He should have never did that. This is what we deal with. And our only tool for satisfaction is a strike tool, which we don't have. Why not? Well, why not? Why not? Well, why not? First of all, it's against the tail law. Secondly, I have to let you understand something here. We could always break the tail law, right? You could go on strike. But first and foremost, we are a union of 4,100 members. 4,100 members. Okay? Not 42,000 like TW. 4,100 members. Okay? If we struck, every member in the room would pay, of course, like we did back in 2005 with TW. For every day out, we paid a day. And how much do you know, how much fines did TW pay? Violations in the millions, right? How much a day? $1 million a day. How much was it? $25 million in one day for the strike. Let me tell you something. Our union, we have about $3 million in the savings account, about another $1 million in payroll, right? In payroll checking, okay? And we have a building on State Street. Guess what? You'll all be members of TWU after that strike, because there will be no more SSSA. There will be no more SSSA. We will lose our building, we will lose everything we have, and then we will lose dues check off. And listen, members are going to say, "The hell with you, I ain't paying, dues. Go get it somewhere else." So now what do you do? What do you do? So as a president, you may not agree with me, but that's not happening under my administration. I'm not going to be the one to destroy this union.
I agree with you saying, but the cops don't strike either. When things don't go their way, you know what they do? They don't respond to nothing.
Right. Well, let me. Oh, 100%.
They don't strike.
No. Right. Yeah, you're talking about a job action, 100%. But you got to remember also, a job action. I don't know if you're following TW stuff. TW in one of the depots last week or a week and a half ago did a job action in the bus division. Yeah, they did a job action, and the TA president and the TW president were negotiating at the time, and a job action went down. The TA president got notified, and my understanding of what happened in that meeting was he asked everybody to leave the room and the TW president to stay there. And he went up one side, down the other on the TW president, and he said, "How dare you call for a job action, which is a violation of Taylor law." He said, "This meeting is over right now. There's no more negotiations until we investigate this. And if we find that you violated that, there's going to be problems."
But that's the purpose of a union. Like,
right.
It's no sense of having a union if we don't have no leverage.
Listen, you're 100% correct.
Because if you can go in there by yourself and do those negotiations with no union.
There's a purpose for the union, right? But this union did not create the law that restricts us, right? And again, like I said, in TW 2005 strike, they went out on strike. They ignored the law, right? And they did what they did, okay? And they paid the price, and they're still paying the price.
B division. I just came in, so my first question is, oh, you're so sweet, thank you. Okay. In regards to whenever this is rectified, when is the retro will be distributed? That will be the first question.
Yeah, I know, that's the big question. Well, yeah.
Well, if I'm going to get some money, I want some money.
Exactly.
Somewhere.
Yes.
Nobody asked that question? Stop playing. Y'all needed me to come up in here to do that?
All right,
When that money coming?
Nice, you loosened up the room. I love that. Beautiful. Figures and ATD would do that.
Exactly.
All right?
We do all the work anyway.
If the contract is ratified today and ratified next week at the MTA board, I'd probably say, and don't hang me if we're wrong, sometime in July, because it's going to take a little while before the parts get moving. And, I told you, typical TA way, slow, and that's it. But I would say probably sometime in July. Before we,
around my birthday would be nice.
But we will always send out when that's going to happen, because there's going to be a process when you'll get it and what check you'll get it, and we'll definitely put that on the website, Facebook, like we normally, and we'll do a blast to most of your phones or emails.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. This may have, I don't know if you're aware, I was on probation. My probation is supposed to have ended May 1st. Okay. Was taken out of my job yesterday and brought down to 130 because I did go out on comp for a work-related incident in December. I had some days off. I also had some sick days, so I know I have to make up for that time.
Right.
Now, it seems to me that I guess Mebane is up there now, but I have 8 days of sick. If it was 7 days, I would just be doing my 32 days. Because I have an 8th day, they added on 3 more months of probation.
Okay, what I'm going to tell you to do is we have RTO reps in the back.
I know, but I wanted you to hear it as well.
Okay.
All right, I just wanted Mr.
And
Blair.
believe me, I hear it anyway. They tell me everything anyway.
Okay,
so
all right.
I
But
hear all this
But
stuff.
I want you to hear from the victim.
Okay, you got it. And I'll make
Okay.
sure that, did you talk to them already?
Yes, I did.
And
but
I'll
I
make
wanted
sure
you to
they
hear
stay
from the
on
victim.
top of it.
All right, I do have another issue. Some people may think it's minor, but for me, I think it's because of me being comfortable in my surroundings where I work. My understanding is that you don't have a way in the contract to grieve certain things in regards to certain locations. I work out of Far Rockaway. I'm an RDO relief. It was always my thing of not eating in the dispatcher's office.
Right.
And when I started my RDO relief job at the PIC, I put up a little sign that says, you know, crews consume your meals in the crew room. That's what it's there for, correct?
Right.
So that became a major issue. Now, somebody up from 27, a train operator, decided to call Zaleski and say, well, this is MTA property and I should be able to do and the X, Y, and Z. Oh, he said it was okay and fine. Didn't discuss it with me.
Right.
So then I get into a little pit back and forth with this train operator. I call the superintendent that was on duty, and he tells me, well, why can't he eat in there? I said, because this is an office, and I work here, and they have provisions.
Right.
Okay. So it seems that there's nothing that could be grieved upon that. I know certain things, but I think I should be able to supervise my area.
Right.
I also went down and had a nice little conversation with Mr. Lesky. He was okay with the fact that I can run his railroad, I can supervise his crews and supervise the office, but that one little thing I can't do.
Right.
I don't understand that.
Okay, well, I'll speak, your reps are here. If they hear it.
Yeah, he said it was, but he said it was a contractual thing.
Right.
That's why I'm bringing it up
And,
to you.
well-
He said there's nothing in the contract to be.
Right,
But I'm
there-
just saying, I think
Right.
that because we're supervisors and we, you know,
100%.
just want to be comfortable where we are, and we don't have the accessibility most of the time to
Right.
pick up and walk out and do what we want, we should be able to be, I should be able, I'm going to speak for me, I should be able to be comfortable within my position
Right.
and where I work at.
Okay.
So that's just a little thing that
Wait.
just throwing it out.
We will look into that. You got my word on that.
Appreciate it. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a good day.
All right. Thank you.
Good morning, Mike.
Yeah, good morning.
Anthony Triano, Car Equipment.
Yes.
All right.
Tom?
First of all, while I'm up here, I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done behind the scenes. We're never going to know everything that you've done. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
But you're only going to hear the bad.
I know.
You're not
I
going to
know.
hear any good. I appreciate everything you've done. Many of us appreciate all the hard work behind the scenes. We know it's a thankless job.
Yeah.
We know it. There's no question about it. I do have a question quickly on the healthcare, the Aetna.
Yeah.
Now, some of us are going to end up staying in Aetna against our will or whatever it is, but we do have a question. On the retirement or whatever it is, when we leave, whatever the case may be, is that Aetna going to roll into Medicare? And is Nice Ship different from that? Will you keep your health insurance with Nice Ship? We're still a little confused on that.
Right. All those things, the best I'm going to answer that is like I said, wait till the workshops or whatever we're going to put together come out, because they would best explain. When Aetna, which we had Aetna for whatever X amount of years that these plans have been in effect, when you retire, you have three options. There's the Aetna Basic, Aetna POS 1, Aetna POS 2. And the differences between the three, the Aetna Basic, right, is you have Medicare and you have the Aetna as well, right? The POS 1 and the Aetna POS 1 and the Aetna Basic, your Medicare reimbursement, right? You know, the money that comes out of your Social Security check, that'll come out of your Social Security check when you retire, you'll only get $297 back at the end of the year for that. If you go into the POS 2, the Medicare plan, the Aetna plan, you will get $2,200 a year back for you and $2,200 back for your spouse, okay? And with those two plans, the POS 1 and POS 2 are Medicare Advantage plans, but not like the city has, not like what the city did, okay? So don't misunderstand what's going on. The city actually took Medicare away from their people and left it in the private
still
industry.
trying
You
to
will still
figure
have
out-
the Medicare involved in your plan. But again, like I said, when these workshops and this paperwork comes out, they'll better explain it
Yeah,
to you.
we're still
the
trying to
breakdown.
figure out the difference between
Yeah.
what NISHIP is now, what they offer, and what we're losing by staying, you know, where I believe, maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can correct me, I believe that NISHIP is giving you, you know, private medical insurance for life. I mean, this is what I believe, versus Aetna rolling you into Medicare at a certain age at a certain time, and there's a huge difference in that. Maybe you
No,
can
no,
help me
no,
out.
no, that's not what we
Okay.
did. Believe me, the last thing I would ever do is something like that. It's not like that. The plans are both almost similar. Of course, there's differences, right? For me to sit here and say they're exactly the same, that's not true. There's differences on different categories, and there's different price groups, right? You know, one may $20 copay, the other may be a 50, right? And it goes both ways. Some are good for NISHIP, some are bad for NISHIP. Some are good for Aetna, some are bad for Aetna. And it goes back and forth when you look down the breakdown, right? And again, each plan is what fits you, you know, fits you personally. You know, you may be single, and I'm not asking you your business. You may be single, and to you, you're like, I don't need no family coverage. Who cares? It's just me, right? But then you have the woman behind you, and maybe she has 2 or 3 kids.
They grown.
Oh, they're grown. Okay, yeah. But she needs a different type of plan. So maybe the Aetna may not benefit her, but the NISHIP does because it covers some things. And that's what I'm saying to you. When they come out with these shops or workshops and the information, they'll be able to explain the differences deeply to you as opposed to what I can explain. But what I can say is, both plans are pretty damn close to each other, okay? You have the lifetime benefit, you have the active death benefit, just like we have with NISHIP. Now you would have it in Aetna, and that is it. They're pretty damn close. And then we negotiate your benefits instead of leaving it up to someone else to do it.
Okay. I think I speak for a lot of us when I say that we were a little surprised and I guess disappointed. Again, this has, you know, nothing to, it's not personal.
I don't take it personal, not at all.
We were expecting, as you said before, a post-pandemic and post-inflationary contract.
Right.
And we're getting a pre-pandemic and pre-inflationary contract, which you explained well. So we were kind of shocked by that.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I get all the negotiating tactics that you were talking about. But again, I think this kind of hit us like a ton of bricks because we were expecting post.
Right.
And post. And we're looking at the numbers and we're looking at the lack of, you know, for the benefits and bonuses for COVID that we went through, you know, all of those things are obviously not represented in this contract, and so we're very taken aback.
I understand.
Yeah.
But you can guarantee that it'll be represented in the next one because it's post-COVID contract.
Right. I
You know,
got you.
and unfortunately, like I said, the members, which you are, and I am a member as well, a lot of us don't understand that when we're working in the field.
Yeah.
You know, how this whole system works. You know, it's just the way it is, unfortunately, you know.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do, and I think going forward, we need to find some ways to get out from underneath the TWU umbrella.
And we're trying,
It's
We
a
are.
little too
Yes.
dark under there
100%.
for us. We got to get out in our own light.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes. Taylor.
Hi, I'm a dispatcher, Taylor.
Yeah.
I work out of Stillwell. I listened to everything you were saying before I nodded off. But the whole simple fact that y'all saying that we can't get paid for students. One, y'all just up to give $3,250 to school call who just came to become instructors that don't know how to instruct, that we have to come out here and teach them that what they need to know about the road. Dispatchers that's coming out, they don't know how to count trains, they don't know if they're above, under, or even. Then, after that, we teaching them for them to go into an office. That's not fair to us.
Right.
So it's feel like we wasting our time. I feel if anybody want to come in as a dispatcher and they sitting with me, the first question I'm asking them, what is your plans as a dispatcher? If you telling me you want to go to the crew office, timekeeping, RCC, sit over there. I have no time for it no more. I feel I'm wasting my voice, my time, my patience. We deal with enough on the road. We deal with keeping this road going. We don't get recognized for the on-time performance that we got these trains and buses out here doing. We need more, and they're not giving it to us. That was the first thing. The second thing is, I see that you're talking about adding another person on for union rep to be available, right? What about, are we going to have shop stewardess classes soon?
Yes, we are. Like I said, we were doing them, we started out doing them, then of course COVID happened and everything else happened, and threw everything out of whack. Matter of fact, we've been also getting calls on our family day and our holiday party that we started to throw before COVID.
Yeah, I discussed
Matter of
that with you
fact,
before.
August 13th will be our first family day since prior COVID. Okay, so we are going back into this whole system again with shop stewards, the training process, our family day, our holiday parties. I mean, we've been behind schedule as well because of all this. Like I said, I told my whole team, everything gets dropped until we get the contract. You know, this was the most important thing. I wasn't worried about parties and shop stewards classes and whatnot. But no, we are going to set that up again. It's going to be the same process, a 3-week training process in the schools in the city that we do it in. As soon as we do that, we'll be posting it for people to join up if they want to go.
Okay, because then a lot of us will have a better understanding
100%.
on what's going on within the union,
Without
how
a
the
doubt.
union works, if we want to really participate in helping others, because to help others is not just about helping ourselves. Even if we like somebody or don't like somebody, we still
Right.
got to be out there representing to the fullest.
100%.
And it seems like for one person to be added to union release, do y'all already have that person in mind, or how that's going to work out?
What we do is, like I said, we got this extra body in the contract, right? And we just look at where we're going to, I said before, possibly a midnight shift. Don't know yet. Like I said, we're trying to get this back moving. Once the contract's ratified, then we're going to take a deeper look at it and see where we would need this body, you know, because most of our departments have at least 2 reps in each department, except for, I think it's stations has 1 rep. We have a vice president that is very active in the field. But so we look at the departments because, you know, we try to gauge it. How many reps do we need for X amount of people? Now, RTO is one of the biggest departments. Same thing with maintenance away. And we sit back and we have 2 reps. Okay, so you gauge it 1 rep for every 500. You know, we're trying, but like I said, we're not a union that has that cash flow that's flowing in, and where we could just keep hiring people. So we try to get the authority to pay for these things. You know, give us a TA release spot, and now we have to look at where we want to put that person and who that person is going to be. It's not going to be someone where we just say, hey, it's going to be you. You know, I don't do that because that's a problem for us. We have to see who's really dedicated to the job, because it's a thankless job. You know, it's not a job where, you know, you come into work every day and it's an easy way of going. You're coming to work and you're being abused. I'm going to be honest with you, because there's concerns out there, and these people have to deal with that. So no, we haven't picked nobody yet. And again, we're thinking about putting that person on the midnight shift to work the emergency calls at night, but that can change too. Depends.
Okay.
All right?
I had another question about the paid family leave.
Yes.
Will that be up to the same standards that the governor issued back in 2021 as far as taking care of siblings and all your children? Because right now with FMLA, you can't take care of your grown children, which I have,
Right.
unless they are incapacitated almost.
Yeah, that's the same thing that's the one that Cuomo put in place. The 2020 or 2021, he
Right.
signed into law or whatever he did. That's the same one that's in this contract, the New York State one.
Okay.
But like I said, we have the, I mean, you're not talking about maternity, paternity, I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's the one we have. And then you have the Federal Family Medical Leave Act, of course.
All right.
All right?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning, Steve Wislinski from Buses. My quick question, it comes with the utmost respect. I understand you guys put in a lot of hours of hard work, but I'm still relatively new to transit, just under 6 years. and I still kind of have an outside mentality I can't get rid of. So when I hear this pattern bargaining,
Right.
I'm wondering if you can give me some of the pros behind it, because to me, I think I hear it and I say we should just fold into TWU and focus on their contract.
Let me tell you, let me just try to be brief as much as I can. There's pros and there's cons, right? You know, I told you it started back for the UAW, the United Auto Workers, back in the day, and it goes into the trades unions. They call it prevailing wage, right? So an electrician, a plumber, a mason in New Jersey that's making $46 an hour, and a plumber, a mason, or electrician in New York is at the bargaining table, because there's different unions, by the way, of these trades unions, and they're bargaining, they use prevailing wage. Well, my counterpart in New Jersey is making $46 an hour. That's what we got to make, right? So it works in that sense, right? But then it could work against you, right? In our case, and I didn't create this, all right? This wasn't created by, well, I'm not 70 years old, all right? So this goes back 70 years. The TWU is the big ship on the property, the largest on the property. We happen to be the second largest, okay? We're 10 times less their size, and we're the second largest on the property. So you can imagine all the other unions, what they are below us. 1,000 members, 600 members, 1,400 members. They're small unions. They set the pattern. Just like I said before, the PBA sets the pattern for all the uniformed in the city. So the pattern is, I'm just throwing numbers, 3 threes for 3 years. 9% for 3 years. So TW settles up for 9%, right? We go in, we're looking at 9%, right? It's not a bad thing. You're walking in saying, all right, I'm looking at 9%. Not that much of a fight. So I ask for 15%, right? We go back and forth, and they're not going to give me the 15%. And then we're stuck, and they say, well, we're not going to give you 15%. Well, I want 15%. No, that's not the pattern. I don't give a shit. I want 15%. Okay, we're at an impasse. Go to arbitration. There's case law up the kazoo. My attorney's here, and he'll tell you that. Up the kazoo. I could ask for 100%. And that judge or that arbitrator is going to rule. What's the pattern? The pattern is 3, 3, 3. Okay, Mr. Karubi? That's what you're getting, 3, 3, and 3. So we already know that, right? You know, it's like, that's what it is, okay? So what we do is we take that raise, right? We take that pattern, and then we try to break the pattern in getting other things that cost money, just like we talked about before, the increases in station level ones, the increase on the elevator and escalators, the increase in the power electric cable divisions, a little bit more money there, the increase in the sick leave cash out. TW didn't have that. We got that. So we take the raises and we get this here. That's how it's done. That's some would say the good side or the bad side to it, right? The bad side in my case would be, like I said, if TW goes in there and says, well, we're going to take a 0 for the first year, and then we're going to take 2 3s for the second year. That's a problem. Because now we're going in facing that same crap, right? These are the issues. It's good and bad, it's pros and cons. But it's been around for over 70 years. That's how they do it. And I didn't create it. I mean, I don't know. I look at it. Is there a better way? Okay, so we get rid of pattern bargaining. Right? Matter of fact, last go around the contract, I asked for a 40-month contract. I said, give me the 28 months under the pattern, and give me an additional 12 months. Know what they said to me? My team is right here. They said to me, well, we can't do that. Well, why can't you? You're giving me the 28-month contract under the pattern, and you're going to give me a 1-year extension at 2.5%, 3%. They said to me, no, you don't set the pattern. TW sets the pattern. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Am I correct? And I wanted to set the pattern. They would never let me do that. We got 4,100 members. in TW, you have one division twice our size. One department. RTO's twice our size. They looked at me and said, no way. We can't do that. Why not? No. You take the 28 months. That's what you take. I don't want the 28 months. I said, matter of fact, give me 24 months and keep your $500 bonus. I'll give you back the $500. My members don't need the $500 for the 4 months. They said, you can't do that either. It's outside pattern. And this is what we're dealing with. Listen, I would love to tell you something different, but I'm being honest with you. And I don't care who sits in my throne, who sits up here. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They're going to be telling you the same thing 10 years down the road. Same exact thing I'm telling you now. Okay? Because if anybody could do something, it's going to be me. Because I am relentless. But when I look at the laws, and I look at the case law, and I say, okay, do I put our chief counsel in court for a year and a half, cost this membership money $30,000 in legal fees to get the same result I'm going to get today? Why the hell would I do that? I shouldn't be your president then. And that's just how I operate. That's how I operate. Unfortunately, like anything in life, there's good and bad. There's pros and cons with every friggin' thing. And this pattern stuff, it works, it don't work. And TW is 42,000 members. And they set the pattern. So what we try to do is break little things away from them, such as this medical, such as other things. I have to take this away because I don't want him negotiating for us. The raises, they negotiate them. And I say it all the time. I've never told anybody anything different when I got elected president. Never said, don't worry about it. Don't worry about TW's raises because I'm going to get you more than that. I never told people that. I would never. Because I'm not a stupid man. I know the game. It is what it is. And maybe someday, somebody that's maybe in school right now, in college, is going to come out and become a union person and create something else other than what we already have. Don't know. I hope I answered your question. I know I went on a rampage.
That's all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Good.
I'm Nakia Williams, station supervisor.
Yes.
And I don't have anything bad to say about the contract.
That's good.
I'm just up here to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. That
I'm
means a
quite
lot.
sure it took a lot to get what it may seem like peanuts to a lot of people, but when you say pre-COVID, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And for those who are against it, I just want to say, like, really think about going in front of an arbitrator right now and think if you're going to be able to get the same thing that's in the MOU. I doubt it. So I don't think it's a good idea to gamble. I think we should try to, negotiate the things that we didn't get going forward.
Yeah.
And I owe you coffee.
No, God.
A sandwich or something.
Nothing.
No, honestly, I do.
No.
Because, and Jerome will tell you, I talked a lot of ish about you. I'm going to keep
That's
it
all right.
clean. Ish.
I'm
about
sure.
you holding up this contract. At least that's what I felt.
Yeah.
But now,
You understand.
I owe you a sandwich.
No, you
That's all
don't.
I'm saying.
I was doing my job. I'm glad I made you happy.
All right.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Auguste, RTO supervisor, dispatcher.
How you doing?
I guess I got a couple points. I just wanted to reach the council and ask, first question, because we all talk about the posting. If you as the president tell us as the members we don't have to take students,
Right.
is that a job action? So that's a job action if we refuse to take students as a collective. But as an individual, we have that choice.
What?
It's insubordination?
Yeah.
Refusing to take a student in your personal space as a dispatcher or TSS is insubordination. I just want to clarify for all of us, because these are discussions we have out in the field where somebody comes and say, hey, I'm here to post with you. I have work to do on my own. If I refuse to take that student while I'm working, you're telling me that going forward, this is insubordination. No, I'm just asking where they stance on us.
Right.
Auguste. O'Geese.
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 Quiet down, please. Just quiet down a minute.
My name's Willie Torres. I've been here about close to 35 years. I'm a service line dispatcher. I used to get students, and you get paid for them. I didn't refuse them. I told them, sit there in the moment, right there. Just sit there. My work.
No, but the difference is we have to sign off on their paperwork.
Right, it's a different situation with us. In RTO, it's different. We sign off that they
We have to
posted
sign
us,
off on their
yeah.
paperwork that they
Yeah.
posted with us for a certain day.
Yeah. Well, the problem is like you asked the question.
Yes.
Yes, if I barked an order said, don't take students, it's a job action. And we can be violated under the tail law, right? If I say to you, well, you could do it yourself, then I now put you in a situation to possibly be disciplined by a manager, right? For insubordination, right? It's a catch-22, it's a problem, right? And this is definitely not, we're on video and everything.
No,
else,
I
a forum,
understand.
you know,
I just
okay.
wanted to know.
It's not a place to be discussing this, you know.
My second part.
Because I'm sure Labor Relations is watching something.
Absolutely.
But they did call me. Are you serious?
Oh, see?
Really? That ain't good.
No, they got my pass, so it's
Oh,
okay.
God, that's all right.
My second part is I'm one of the voices on the website that speak on the contract and the
Right.
percentages and so forth.
Okay.
I'm not hiding. I'm right here.
There's nothing wrong with
Our
that.
issue going forward is why you said you negotiated this. This started pre-COVID with
Pre-COVID,
TW.
yes.
And you negotiated in the last couple of months, which is post-COVID.
Right.
Our issue with it is why are we moving forward when we're still here? We're still dealing with this. We was at work. We was here. We kept the railroad running. Doesn't that break pattern the fact that their contract was negotiated in 2019? Our contract is essentially being negotiated this year.
No.
So wouldn't that break the pattern in the sense that, like you said, 70 years and all these times and all these other precedences before, COVID is not a new precedent to everybody.
Right.
So that's why some of us wonder if going to arbitration, we have a new precedence with COVID where we can try to get more.
No, let me explain.
I understand stations is
Yeah.
good. I'm just here
No,
with
let
the
me-
discussions that we're having.
No, let me, yeah.
I'm just having a discussion. Everybody got their chance.
Let me address that. I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, when we say it's pre-COVID, it is pre-COVID, and it was a contract that TW negotiated, so we follow pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only just what they got, it's the 48-month contract, it's any medical benefits, anything that they got in their contract, it's a pool of money, right? If you only go back to the money value, right? So that money for our contract also was set aside in 2020, okay? Prior COVID, pre-COVID. So COVID happened. We started negotiations, right? Under the pattern bargaining system, which was, our contract was worth $5,178,000, right? That was my 1% value. So we started that in 2020. We went 2.5 years through COVID and restarted last February. Well, my value still was the same, $5,178,000. Because it was nothing changed, right? What happened was TW went in and made a deal November of 2022 for this ADA stuff with the Americans with Disabilities Act for elevators and escalators. And when they did that, because it invoked a part of their contract in 2019, right, for that, it caused us a problem. And I went off on them and said, what are you talking about? The patent is 48 months. You want to now charge me 50 months. And that's what we talked about with that other piece in the contract. So that's what happened, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it at that point. They backed away, but we still have to pay for it because there's a cost in there. But the 48-month patent, which in this case, it worked for us, right? Otherwise, they would have rammed a 50-month contract down our throats. That 2 months would have been for free. Zeros. But under the pattern, pre-COVID, 2019 TW, 2020 us, we got the 48-month contract done. You understand? That's how it works. But you can guarantee next year's contract, will be post-COVID, and that's a fact, and we will be, those other things will be on the table, the cost of livings, the hazard pay, the additional sick time, what happened with that, and, you know, with the COVID people that were sick with COVID, all that'll be on the table again. And then we can actually really address it because it's post-COVID at that point. And there'll be a different value to the contract. And again, we all have to watch also what TW gets and what they're looking at, and hope to God they don't give nothing back. That's going to affect us all, because if they give something back, it affects all the unions, not just us, everybody. Because we're the smaller unions in the room. It is what it is. We didn't create that. I would love to be sitting there saying, oh, we're 40,000 strong. I wish we would, but we aren't. And that's the price we pay. But we're staying above water.
All right, and my last question is related to the medical, because I'm under 5 years, so I don't get the option.
No.
So, can I speak, please? Thank you. I'm under 5 years.
Yes.
So one of the things, like what somebody else mentioned, is that when you came to supervision, you was expecting better medical. So
Right.
with us not having that option, we're really looking into what exactly we're losing. I called Aetna. I called night shift. They tried their best to give me information. I even called the BSC.
Yeah.
The issue, and me and my classmates are having the discussion, is we're not getting that option under 5 years. What are we signing up to lose in the
Right.
long run? So we don't want 15 years from now, we're under Aetna, and they well, night shift covers this, but Aetna doesn't cover that.
Well, you're always going to have, like I said before, I went through this before with a couple other members that asked the same question. There's always differences, right? There's different. I can't go through them with you, but there's going to be packages put out there.
But that's the problem. We're voting today and tomorrow,
Listen,
and then
I
the
fully
info
understand
comes out
that.
after.
The only thing I could tell you is that every class that got promoted in this union that we came in, and I'm talking 10 out of 10. I mean, I don't recall any, because I go to the induction classes, and everybody in the class gets pissed off that they may lose their medical and 10 years down the road in night shift. They want to stay with what they got. And that's another concern, right? I mean, you're probably one in far few between that one, this gentleman here too. And you maybe won't even want to move over to night shift. You probably want to stay with Aetna, right? I don't know. But your concern is an option. I told you before, I didn't have that power because, like I told you, you got a credit for the first 5 years with TW. You're in that group plan, if you call it that, right? It's like if you went and got group insurance, right? More people in the group, the less you pay premiums, right? That's how they got their credit for the first 5 years. So I really had no say-so in the first 5 year guys. You know what I mean? But I said, okay, every induction class I went to wasn't a problem because they all don't want to leave Aetna. So who am I pissing off? I mean, of course, you're going to piss off 1 or 2 people, maybe 10 people. I don't know. But that's sometimes the price that I got to pay, right? As a leader, you know, I gotta look at the majority, not the minority, right? In some cases, in that sense, because it's about the whole body. It's not just about one person. Unfortunately, that's how it's done here. But the only thing I can say, brother, is vote the way you feel you need to vote, and I respect you no matter which way you go.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You got it, brother.
Hi, I'm Damon Short from Signals.
Yes.
Okay. The first thing I would like to say is he mentioned about the training. I don't mind. I'm training a new supervisor now because I'm retiring, but the point I'm making is that it's very important that we train the people even for free. Otherwise, the contractors are moving in. So we have to make sure we maintain supervisors that are educated in the fields and the specialty issues, specialty trades that we're doing.
Right.
For example, I'm in a compressor group. We handle installations, maintenance, asbestos projects, etc. So I want to say that. I also want to thank you and your team for coming up with a contract under difficult situations, because it's not the easiest thing with the New York City Transit. I understand that, and it's been going on for years. Just by mention, I know it was talked about, but for the new members, I really hope that somehow there could be some compression minimum, maybe in the future, done for them, so that this way they don't suffer a loss when they are promoted, and also perhaps deal with the medical, bringing them in. It's always going to be an issue. It was an issue when with the pay and the medical when you got voted in.
Right.
And so it's still an issue today. So maybe in the future that could be corrected. And then just speaking about lead and asbestos, we have individuals that's handling lead and asbestos, and they get paid less per hour than snow duty.
Right.
Now, I was told by my former vice president, not the one now, Zarowski, I was told by Mr. Pat Hackett that, you could pick out, because I had a lot of seniority. Also, Transit told me I should pick out the managers.
Right, right.
But what happens is that that's not fair.
No.
Snow duty pays time and a half. Asbestos is a few dollars extra an hour. And when you handle that, there's issues involved, long-term issues, possibly for those that are exposed. There's possibilities, and so that I think that risk should be negotiated in a contract for those that's doing those risky jobs.
Right.
Then talking about, I also wanted to thank you for what you did for the departments. I mean, I noticed that stations was taken care of. Maybe it could have been done better, but it was great that people were taken care of. I looked at that and I was like, wow, this is great.
Thank you.
And then also, I wanted to go into looking at the specialties in each of the departments and how we conduct business. Because it affects us. For example, in signals, we have picks. Everybody wants their pick rights. But what happens is that if we continue down that path, say, for example, we have an excellent supervisor, he's skilled in, say, switch and signal maintenance, and we have another supervisor skilled in capital construction. They're totally different. Now, if we switch them out, right, and just put a new guy there, he might have some seniority, but now he has no capital construction skills.
Right.
We can lose people. And then what happens is the contractors can say, we can do the job for cheaper.
Right.
And that's where we don't want to lose the skill. So perhaps looking at that and working with the union, I'm not saying get rid of the picks, but I'm saying, like, for example, with me, when I took over Compressor Squad, this was in 2000. There was no training available, and I had all new guys. So that was a complicated issue.
Right.
Now we have vendors, all right, that are moving in and servicing the compressors. We don't want that to happen, because what they'll do is they'll install new compressors or they'll install new equipment and give a maintenance contract with it. That robs our people of the work. So I'm saying, can we look into that for the future? That's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, hello, how you doing?
How are you?
My name is Javon Hamilton. I'm Car Equipment Emergency Response.
Okay.
I gotta say, for one, you definitely need to polish up your YouTube videos.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff you said today would have enlightened a little bit more people had you mentioned some of the key points you mentioned in those videos,
Right.
rather than saying them at this point in time with only minutes to spare for a vote. I understand a lot of what you said does make a lot of sense, but on behalf of Car Equipment, MS1s, we feel slighted because time and time from the contracts, we get nothing. But we are used as the pedestal to bring everybody else up. Now, I don't disagree with your ideology. I think we all should be making way over 6 figures, because this job is not like any other. As far as your ideology of industry standards versus skilled trade, can you imagine if you spent, and I'm not saying it's a direct comparison, but could you imagine you spent, $200,000 for your kid to become a dermatologist, and another parent spent over $500,000 for their child to become a brain surgeon, and then they come home and say, hey, the dermatologist is going to make the same amount of money as me. That's kind of how we feel with the discipline and the money that we spent for a skilled trade that transit required for us to get this job, and for us to be used as as a parity for everybody else's pay, when we feel if you're going to do that, you might as well use the TSS as the parity for us to all get the same pay as the TSS, because the TSS is making more money than everybody, and it's almost like a dog whistle to transit to say that we make too much money, and we don't. We're all struggling for the milk and the eggs. You know
No,
what I mean?
100%.
So it's just one of those things where I hope that you could re-look at that and reevaluate that, not to really walk away from it completely, because I commend you for what you're doing, because listen, stations need it. I won't put, I'm not even saying that the TSS don't deserve their money, but they need it. I mean, even car equipment, our wage progression, nothing that you had to do with, but we get zeros for 3 years in our wage progression when everybody else gets an increment every year. Why is it that car equipment MS1s, and I'm at top pay already, so it doesn't affect me, but I'm not gonna tier 6 the people coming behind me. I'm not gonna leave them in the dust. Why is it that we get 3 years of zeros on a wage progression to top pay and everybody else gets an increment every year? So not everybody else, all right, so I stand corrected, but still, you gotta see, you're using the pay, nobody left behind, but through the contract negotiations, every department is coming up feeling like they got left behind with something.
I thank you for that. I appreciate it. And believe me, I'm very mindful of a lot of things, I understand, and ain't nobody up here, especially me as president, that wouldn't love to come back and say, I got everybody something that they wanted, right? I mean, I'd be a fool not to if I can get it. So you can bet your ass that I do try to get it, and there's things that we can and can't get as we go along. As far as your first comment, I appreciate my YouTube videos. Believe me, I would love to say more, but you have to understand I'm binded also by laws, what I can and can't say regarding contract negotiations. So I would love to be up on a YouTube. I love to talk, as you can see, right? Especially when I'm around my membership. I love it. But I would love to be on a YouTube video during contract talks and say, hey, we're at the table. We're fighting for this. We're fighting for that. I got this one going. I got that going. I think we got this. But I can't. I can't do that. There's numerous reasons for that. One, I'd be in violation of our own SSSA Constitution, right? Because the Constitution is very clear. Before I present any kind of contract to the membership, I have to bring it to the executive board. So if I'm telling the membership about things that are going on, my board's going to say, what the hell are you doing? You're in violation of your own Constitution. So, but I agree with you. I mean, I'll be mindful of things. I can't, actually say what I said today, because today is the meeting where you say it all. And I know, I watch Facebook, we hear Facebook, we know what's going on, and we see people, and I'm dying to get on there and say, hey, you don't understand, but I can't do certain things. But thank you for that, and I hope I clarified that. But I will take a relook at it. And when I say about the MS1s, because the MS1 title is specific, maintenance supervisor level 1. It's an MS1 title. I don't want to diminish your credentials or anybody's credentials in the trades end of it, right? Because I know what it takes to become an engineer like yourself, or a electrician, a mason. These are specialty jobs. When I say that is because you got the job as an hourly under the TW, under those credentials. But to become a supervisor, you didn't need those credentials to become a supervisor, right? Supervisor was just a promotional exam under civil service guidelines, right? You already came through the door using those credentials, and you went to school for that. You spent money to get those credentials, and I commend you for that. So what I'm looking for is what I'm trying to say is my ideology, if you whatever you want to call it, is that all MS1 should make the same. And we are using your department as a model because you guys are the top guys, right?
No, the TSSs are.
Well, the TSSs are not, and don't kill me when I say this, the TSSs are not anything to do with trades, right? TSS is a TSS. They're train operators. They were conductors. Maybe they were TDs. And then they moved up, not diminishing their job. They do a totally different scope of work than what you guys do. But, they do make the highest. We didn't create that. That's been around for when the TSS title was a motor instructor's title. They were making the most money in this union. But we do use car equipment as a model as the MS1s because you guys are the highest paid, and rightfully so. And but believe me, we're not trying to step on your head in any way, but we need to get these other people up to certain levels as well. And that's how I was saying before, we tend to try to break the pattern a little bit. But I will be mindful of things like that, all right?
And just one more last thing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people mentioned some stuff, but we also would really like for you to push 4-day work weeks. Listen, I don't mind coming in for, 10 or 12 hours, a couple days just to get that extra RDO, but that 4-day work week will be really good push for and a good win on our next contract.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, how are you?
Hi, I'm ATD Joanne Jaworski
How you
from D
doing?
Division.
Good.
I have issues with the medical.
Yes.
Why we're giving up the high option. That is a huge, huge money saver for transit. First off, we were paying into that more than a regular insurance plan. To have the option of going to out-of-network doctors and not having to have a gatekeeper
Right.
over our benefits. Just giving that completely away is a huge money saver for transit. So what are we getting for giving that away?
Here's the thing, we didn't get a savings for it. It wasn't like.
Transit is.
We didn't give it away like that. You have to understand, we have two different types of moving parts here. The high option rider, like I said before, may work for one person, right? One or two people, whatever it is. It really doesn't work. It was a benefit that TW negotiated for their members back in the day, right? They got a big, big benefit for that. And what they did was they ended up getting 2 dental plans for that, right?
Yeah.
They had the HealthPlex and then they got the emblem under the high option rider. But when you come to our union as a supervisor, right, you can't get our dental if you keep the high option rider.
Exactly.
Okay? And if you retire, you go out with no dental under the high option rider. And you lose the high option rider anyway when you retire anyway.
Okay, but having the high option while we're still down here, still
Right.
being poisoned
And-
daily by things like the diesel trains that sit in our stations and infest our lungs is a
All
big
right.
difference.
And in order to get to say what I did, but we're talking about the high option rider, but God forbid you were to pass today. Your significant other or spouse would not get your medical benefit. Maybe you wouldn't care, maybe you do care, right? So when you look at all these things, what's the trade-off? What's the trade-off for all this? You have to look at all those pieces of the puzzle. You're not going to get our dental for life, which we have a better dental plan than TW has, right? You're not going to get that if you kept the high option rider. If we didn't negotiate these plans and that high option rider didn't go away, you're not getting the lifetime death benefit should you pass away, whether you pass away active or you pass away in retirement, okay, for your spouse and your children. So when you weigh the options as the president of this union, when I look at it and I say, no, this outweighs that. That's how it works. And I mean, I don't want to sound like cocky in any way, but that's how we negotiate, and that's just what it was,
Okay, how about our seniority? Provisional employees know that they're provisional and they're taking a chance. DCAS rules was your list number. Now, by doing this and giving away our seniority rights, you're letting people who, somebody got to friend somebody that's going to get them called in before somebody that scored better than them is going to get better lists.
Okay, let me just explain something to you. The provisional guidelines, right? Listen, I said it before, and I don't want to keep going over it. The provisional positions, right, was awarded back in 1990, right? Union seniority was based on the temporary or provisional job, right? We have the decision here. It was an arbitrator, Stern, that ruled against the member and said that union seniority starts when the person becomes a member of the union. My personal opinion, I said earlier, for those who are still around that were here this morning, I said that I've always believed the list number is the way out, was the way to go. But you have to take off what I believe personally, right, and look at the whole bigger picture, and then I have to look at the legal documents that were lost. And the legal documents that was lost was in 1990. That clearly makes it clear that union seniority was based on the point you become a temporary or provisional person. Now, there are flaws with the provisional system, the way the company, especially RTO, hires people and brings people up. And remember, nobody should be getting a provisional job if they're not already on a temporary list. Okay? That's not how this works.
but
Now,
they're not going in order on that
but what happens
temporary
is, if the company is going to put up a test, and they know that in 3 months they're going to do a test, then they can start hiring provisionals today for ATDs, TDs, whatever they're going to hire, right? Maintenance level 1s, whatever they want to do. And they put out a thing, do you want to become this, a provisional, but you have to take the test. That's going on in car equipment in the CAS title, all right? So they hire these provisionals, but they have to be on the test, okay? So those are things that go on. But those are inner working things. Those are policy problems that the transit does. Of course they hire their friends. They do certain things, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I'll be the first one to say that with you. But that's for us. If we become aware of that, then the union steps in and we go after them and say, hey, this has got to stop. You can't do
this is kind of nullifying your right to go after it.
No, it's not nullifying our right to go after it. No, what that is doing is solidifying what provisional means across every department and every section in this union. So what that means is, if you become a member of this union, whether it be from permanent or provisional, right, which pretty much is provisional on that one, the day you start paying dues is the day your seniority begins, providing there's no break in service, right? You know, it's not like you could become a provisional today, work here for 6 months, and then you get demoted and then come back. No, that 6 months don't count. You just got to go right, it's got to flow from provisional into permanent. That's how it goes. And of course, like anything else, you know, when you go into class, it's based in the class seniority. You know what I'm saying? With the provisional. That's what it means. I didn't make that. I wasn't involved in that in 1990. But that's what we did. Because it had to stop. It was too much. Every division, every section was doing different things.
Okay, my one last thing is, since we know we are based on pattern bargaining for our raises, why aren't we working with Local 100 to try to work on them getting better raises so that all around we'll all end up with better raises?
Let me be very clear with you. First and foremost, I came out of TW. I was a staunch supporter of TW. I love TW. I was part of the New Direction Caucus. Under Roger Toussaint, we were all together that took out the old leadership. TW hates our guts. All right? Let me be clear with that. And I'm going to say something. I was an acting vice president. I was a division chairman in RTO with TW. People know who I was back in the day. And I hated supervisors. Know why? Because I didn't understand. All right? I didn't understand. And I'm going to say this, and I said it a few times before the other groups. If I can go back and see those supervisors that I put on the carpet when I was a TW rep and got them in trouble, if I can go back and tell them I'm sorry because I didn't understand that you were a brother or you were a sister union member and I pinned you with bullshit. That's what I used to do as a TW rep. TW hates supervisors. They don't like us. All right? It's sad, but they don't.
We don't have to like each other to work together.
Understand. Let me tell you something without going, and I don't want to go down a path because that's not what this meeting's about. Right before COVID, I requested a coalition meeting with TW and 11 other unions, presidents. Tony Utano was the president of TW. We went to Tony Utano's Union Hall on Geraldman Street. All the presidents are there. You know what I was doing? I was trying to put together a legislative team, all the lawyers and all the unions and all the lobbyists together to fight for bills that would affect every MTA employee. And guess what? Tony Utano said, I was sitting right there at the table, I'm not in support of that. What are you talking about? And I go back with Tony 20-something years. I said, what are you talking? And we went back and forth with words. The other labor leaders were in the room. I said, then this meeting is over. We're done. We got up. We all walked out. And that was the end of the story. And then, Mr. Utano had a problem with one of my station level 1 supervisors down in, I think it was Church Avenue somewhere. He contacted the vice president of the Transit Authority, Notion and Fulton, and tried to have that person taken out of service. The only problem, Mr. Utano didn't realize, we got word of it. We showed up there the same night, him and his team were there with the Transit Authority VP to take our member out of service. Well, that member wasn't taken out of service, and Mr. Utana left with his tail between his legs. Okay, but I understand what you're saying, but it's not as easy as you think it is. Okay, they don't want to talk with us. They don't want to know anything from us. And there's other feature. They're the big ship on the property. We, to them, are peons. We're small. We don't know any better. We don't know. They know. That's a problem. So let them do what they got to do. We'll keep getting our sick leave cash out advancements. We'll keep making progress in our contracts that they can't get. Because their members, after this contract, is still going to have a non-death benefit if one of them die as an active member or retired. We don't have that anymore. We have this. So let them keep doing what they're doing. But I do work closely with other union leaders. TSO, ATU 726, Danny Casella, love the guy to death. We work closely. He's an hourly union with the buses. ATU 1156 in Queens. These unions I work closely. TW, you can't get near them. You can't get near them. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the way it is. Thank you.
It's sad because it affects us.
Yes, it does. Yes, Takia.
Hello.
Oh, God.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Takia Hanley. I'm Station Supervisor, Level 1, and also Section BP of Supervisors, Station Supervisors, Level 1. Hello. First of all, I want to just say, let's not make this a departmental separation because it is one contract.
Yeah.
A lot of people may not know, I ran against you on the opposing slate, right? You remember, right?
Yep.
Yes, I did. Only because it was a favor, and I didn't think we were going to win anyway, so it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Until the day they called and told me that I won. I was like, what? I was like, oh. But anyway, you know, you welcomed me. You know, I posed our issues to you. You listened. We stuck on you. That's why this contract, yes, we were hurt. No one said anything last contract when the property protection had their turn. No one says anything when other departments get their turns.
Yep.
What people don't understand is different contracts, different departments receive more, or it's negotiated by you. I didn't understand that before I came here. I totally was against everything about the union, not having a union, because I feel it's better to have one than to not have one. But it's only when I got here that I understood different things. You explain things. I understand the process and the way things go. And I understand a lot of the people here are newborns. We call them newborns because they have a little bit of time.
Right.
Today, actually, is my 20th anniversary.
Good. Congratulations.
And I was here with TWU,
Right.
with the last, when we struck that year. No, I didn't cross the picket line, but I stayed home, and I was docked 3 days pay.
Yep.
I had three years maybe here on the job. I couldn't afford 3 days pay, taken from my check, and after all was said and done, we still got the same contract.
That's right.
They went to arbitration, we still ended up waiting and still got the same contract, so I felt slighted. Because now I gave up 3 days pay and nothing changed. So I don't understand. Let's not separate. Management wants us to be separated. They don't want us to stick together.
Right.
We are a SSSA union.
That's right.
And I've learned that since I've been here. Okay? And like I said, different departments will benefit on different contracts. This is not the last contract. And everyone felt that Tucson sold out the newborn. Each year you have to, I don't want to say wait your turn, but it gets better, even with seniority. So you may have 5 years now, but you're going to be standing here in another 15 years saying you got 20 years now.
Right.
Okay? And you understand the process, and you understand how you got here.
Yeah.
So understand how we got here. And it's not about stations being good, because we're being pissed and pooped on for many years. People don't understand. They eliminated the level 2 supervisors. That's That was eliminated.
Yep.
There is nowhere for a level 1 to go except superintendent.
That's right.
So all these years, over 20 years, the work that the level 2s were doing, the level 1s are doing. And I'm not speaking for any other department. I'm not saying you don't do extra stuff that you should not do or is not your task. They throw everything on us. We do station maintenance jobs. We do electrical jobs. We do E&E jobs. We do everything that belongs to stations. We even deal with gates. If they say go and check gates, make sure they're working properly, do this, we do it. We have to do it. We work, yeah, check the tracks.
Right.
You know, so, okay, there you go, see? But my thing is, everyone has problems in their departments. But what we did was, we sat down and we got a list of things that we wanted you to fight for. Yep. Because when I got here, you said you had no idea how bad stations was. And I can't speak for the past. And your ex-VP was from stations, so I kind of blame that too. Because how you didn't fight for us? Talk to, and you know, I have respect for her, but you talked. But I expected you to be there for us. And that's what we did this time. Because we're not going to stand back and let management continue to treat us the way we know we deserve to be treated better, okay? Yeah. So I just want to let everyone know, this has nothing to do with stations. It has nothing to do with buses. It has nothing to do, has something to do with SSSA. And let's remember that, because I'm telling you, you vote this contract down, 2 years later, we're going to end up with the same, and maybe worse. Maybe worse. It will be worse, okay? So people talking, come up here, do your research. Talk to your section VPs and your E-board members or whatever. We make it open. We even have a group chat just for us so that we share information and stuff. That was something that we just thought of. So they pose questions and I bring it to you, do I not?
Yes, we do.
I called John too. But I've learned since I've been here because I didn't understand this process. And I'm a firm believer. Listen, you did great.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Appreciate it. I got one more.
Yes, thank you. These were two things I needed to bring to your attention, and I don't know if this is the right time, but this is something that affects all of us. I came through the ranks. I was a conductor. I was a train operator. I was actually a superintendent too for 11 months. Didn't like it, went back.
Oh, okay.
Why is it managers feel like they have the right to force supervisors to work outside of their title? And when you refuse to do that now, they're saying you're being insubordinate. If I wanted to be a conductor, I would have stayed there. If I wanted to be a train operator, I would have stayed there. I'm not a tower operator either. Why are they allowed to do that? And then they penalize us when we refuse. That is not within my title. I'm not a TSS, but I've been around situations where they try to force TSSs to make trips as train operators. They're no longer train operators. I think the union need to address this because in my title, where I work, I'm a tower operator too.
Right. Okay. When things like that happen, and like I said, this is a contract meeting. This is not a. But I'll accept your problem. They have to notify their union rep because those are issues that need to be addressed right away. You know, that you can't let that go on because if you let that go on, that becomes a past practice, right? And then we can't resolve the problem. So when things happen, if you don't notify your union rep right away and say, hey, I've been told to do this and this is not good, then the union will address that issue at that point.
You guys knew in the height of the pandemic that was the issue. TSSs became dispatchers, tower operators. We all worked outside the title during the pandemic and it was forced. Well, a lot of them did not have a choice.
Well, I'm going to put it to you this way. I don't know what happened during the pandemic in the field because we didn't get phone calls. At least I didn't get any phone calls about a TSS working a dispatch terminal or a TD working a tower or whatnot. I didn't get any calls on that, and there was surely no complaints that I got from my staff. Now, if you called my staff and my staff had said they addressed it or they didn't address it, they didn't tell me about it. And we're talking about a pandemic that was going on. Everything was going nuts. And if those members were doing those titles, doing that title work, then they should not have been doing that. They should have been calling the union and dealing with the union on that. Because the union was on call 24 hours a day, whether COVID was going on or not. So they're at fault, but they should have called the union. and said, hey, I was told to work the tower, I'm a TSS, or I'm a TD, or I'm an ATD. I mean, you got to call the union and let them address it.
I understand you didn't know, but that was the situation.
But I didn't know. All right, I appreciate that.
There's one more thing that managers do, and I think it's wrong. A few months ago, RCC called and they asked me, can I speak to your ATD? I said, you know there's no ATD here. I should have one, but I don't.
Right.
So she said, I'll call back. That was at 6 o'clock. At 9:30 at night, an ATD walk in to do my job, I'm a TD, telling me I have a random. They knew since 6 o'clock that I had that random. They waited until they found an ATD, made me leave at 9:30. I never left the MAC until 2 o'clock in the morning by myself. No escort, because technically I left at 9:30. I sat there and I watched other departments come in for randoms and other stuff, and when they're about to walk out, the tech called them, no, 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 and she moved her computer to the side and ordered them a taxi. Why some departments get that, but I, who was the only female, was left to walk the street 2 o'clock in the morning by myself.
It shouldn't have happened, but it does, right? We know that. I mean, I don't know the search situation. I mean, and again, you would have to, you should have called your union, call the union rep. I mean, that's what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, but why did some department has a taxi service on a separate
These are
computer and
things-
some don't? We all should. There should be a right for everyone in terms of safety. This affects everyone.
I understand. Listen, every department does things differently. You know, I mean, I'm from RTO. I know how it works in RTO, how we do it. Buses does things differently. Maintenance Away does something else. You know, these are the department heads, how they want to function, how they want to handle things. I mean, yes, a female at 2 o'clock in the morning should not be walking alone, right? I mean, if you want to look at it that way, right?
And I didn't stay there 2 o'clock by choice. I
Right,
stayed there
I
that late
understand.
because there was a lot of incidents and they
All
took
right.
priority over randoms.
Well, these are issues that your union rep will address, and we possibly could take a look at it in the future to see what we could do.
And
Okay?
I need title classifications, exactly what our title entails, if you guys can put that in the next contract, so that these managers will know exactly, because a lot of them pretend they didn't come from these former titles,
Well,
know
most of them
exactly
didn't come,
what
right? That's the problem here, is they didn't.
our titles.
Yeah.
Well, in RTO, most of us did. Most of our managers came from within us, and then they forget.
I have a motion on the floor to adjourn, second by Joe. All in favor? All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion adjourned. Thank you all. Get home safe. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.